Good morning. Sorry I'm late. Sorry. I'm in a different spot, so I was trying to figure out lighting. Then my mic wasn't working, but we're here. Welcome back from the weekend, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. It's my radio voice. I hope you enjoyed your weekend as much as I did. And we're back for Smooth Politics every Monday. We're going to do smooth politics today. I'm not in the mood to scream at people, but it'll probably happen. Hopefully we get Felice here soon. Thank you. Appreciate that. I was listening to the oral arguments for the gag order against Trump. That's why I was a couple minutes late. I got locked into it. It's so bizarre. And I know Felice has a lot to say about this, so I'll probably save some of that. If anybody sees Gorilla Radio around, let him know. Thank you for the birthday wishes. If anybody sees Gorilla Radio around, let him know he owes me $500. He can just pay that whenever. It's no big deal. Snuggles, are you still doing that winning thing? You're a grown human. You're a grown human, and you show up in all caps everywhere I show up that you're winning. I don't understand it. I don't know. I guess that's fun for you. I have no idea. Wait, was it Biden's birthday too? Was Biden's birthday? When is his birthday? Is it today? Oh, it's today. My birthday was yesterday. Caps are for boomers. Shoot, let me turn off those. Oh, I need to turn off my notifications too. Hold on one sec. Listen, I'm not, I don't know what happened to Mr. Jones. Sorry, I'm not up to date on that. I do not like birthdays. My birthdays. I like other people's birthdays. I think other people's birthdays are fine. Yeah, I did cut my hair. I buzzed it all off. I got tired of it. I don't like my own birthday, so it was a great birthday for me. I just turned off my phone. I played golf with my Republican friends in the morning, and then I mostly just turned off my phone. I watched so much. I don't remember who it was. It might have been Whisper. Somebody told me to watch Andy Fishing or Andy's Fishing on YouTube. Just this guy that I don't know where he lives even. He might be, I want to say New Zealand, could be Australia, could also be South African. Not great with accents, and I don't remember what he said. But he just goes out and fishes, and that's it. He goes out there and he fishes and he talks to you. And I watched it for like 6 hours. So I guess I'm still like a little bit Republican. What do you guys talk about, you and your Republican golf buddies? That's a good question. I talk an insane amount of known as a shit talker. So I just mostly make fun of them for everything. And then they usually just make like the typical Republican white dude jokes back at me. A lot of gay jokes, mostly gay jokes. It's what it's like hanging out with Republicans. They just make gay jokes all day long. They think they're really funny. It's their biggest fear. I was talking to one guy, and he literally told me like his greatest fear is that his child will be gay. I'm like, that's the craziest. How's that your fear? How's that a thing that you're afraid of? That's crazy. Felice just with a drive-by. Hey, Athena. So I don't even know, honestly, there's nothing I can do really to change. Like, I've tried changing their minds. I just laugh at them and tell them they're crazy. The only thing you can really do is point out the absurdity to them. Because they don't really care if they're hurting anybody. They're not worried about that. So you just have to point out that they're absurd. Like, that's a crazy thing to be afraid of. That's one of the craziest things you could be afraid of. Except for I'm afraid of Felice. So that's
fair.
What's more? Yeah, I was gonna say that one's actually kind of fair, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry you were late.
Fear.
Were you on the phone with Bad Views or something, or?
Stop. You know what I'm doing in the morning. I don't know why you act like you don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know what you're doing in the morning. Why would I know what you're doing in the morning?
Reading the news, just checking up into things.
Yeah, you went all in on listening to hearings this morning.
Which hearing are you talking about?
The gag order one.
Oh yeah, that's I didn't know. I didn't realize that it's the DC Court of Appeals. Yeah, it's debating the gag order, and I didn't realize that the audio is just live, that anyone can listen to it.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's just giving me it's making me feel very triggered though. It's reminding me a lot of like domestic violence cases where women can't get any protection or help until after they're physically attacked, you
Yeah.
know? And that's it's giving that.
Well, I didn't even it's such a bizarre thing that this is a real hearing. When I was listening to it, they're like, "All right, so he called they were talking about General Milley, and then he
Yeah.
called him a was it a scummy liar? I think he said scummy liar. And they're debating whether or not if it was the word scummy or liar that was that was like the problem. And they're like, "Well, if he calls him just a liar, is that okay?" He's like, "No, it's still the witness. Like that's still the witness. You can't call the witness a liar publicly. You can't call them a scummy liar publicly." Yeah.
I can't believe how long it's going. Like I don't think the hearing is even supposed to be going this long. Like the prosecution got just started speaking. Like the Trump's lawyer spoke for like an hour, over an hour. Yeah, little things they're debating are maddening. Like what you're saying, like the weird nuance or semantics of words, like that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Or they're just like I mean, to hear Trump's lawyer just genuinely trying to make the argument of, well, their family members aren't them, like it's a
Yeah.
trying to make it.
Yeah. Yeah. Give me a sec. I'm gonna turn this light. It's right in my
I
face.
was gonna say, it looks like a cop is like shining a spotlight on the side of
My
your head.
my dogs are running around. They knock. Oh, so much better. It's like I can see again. It's like I can see for the very first time.
Yeah.
That's a good
I have
song.
a little like speech I want to give. I mean, not a speech, but
I've
it's just
prepared.
something I,
I've prepared a few words.
you
Go
know
ahead.
me.
Floor's yours.
Well, okay, so the auto worker strike, the UAW strike, it's officially ratified, right, today. So with the big three, they had negotiated it, but it's kind of like being an escrow, like the whole thing can fall through.
Right.
But it's officially done. So the strike is officially over, and I was just listening to or thinking about when Sean Fain was on Rachel Maddow's show, and part of the quote he's the strike leader, he's the leader of the union. He
Yeah.
said, when 26 billionaires have as much wealth as half of humanity, that's a crisis. It's working class issues. It's working class issues, whether you're in a union or not, right? And I mean, when I think about, me, always talking about democracy in the workplace, which is what socialism and Marxism is really about, and where we spend 5 out of 7 days a week, why is there no democracy if America is constantly claiming to care so much about democracy, where we're spending our most time? There is none. And then I was thinking about sort of Marxism and how it's a critique on capitalism. And there's this big question in it versus reform or revolution. And it was occurring to me, like, for me, I think the reform, like this win for the auto workers, it's like being in revolution school, right? Like when we fight for these, it is. I mean, because I think they go hand in hand. Like we fight for these little battles, or how we're always saying we need universal health care. This is something that all the other developed countries in the world have. These
Right.
little battles for reform are essentially the blueprint, right? It's like being in revolution school. And the issue about revolution, I think, is realizing.
I just want to keep hearing revolution school. I
Yeah.
just like the idea that you go to school for revolution.
Yeah, well, I
What
mean,
are you studying?
essentially.
Revolution. Oh, good, good.
Yeah, well, I mean, but what did we learn? I was just thinking about the New Deal, right? And how that was such a big thing, but how it was also rolled back. Like what we learned from reform school is like, right, they just fought for this whole strike was such a huge deal. They fought for it, they won, but we could see with legislation, with more dark money coming into politics by corporations, this can all be undone. And that's the issue, is like we are fighting these battles that are very hard fought, very hard won, but we're still, if we don't recognize it's the system, right? And I'm not talking about Republicans or even Democrats, the system, the economic system of capitalism, right? All of this can still be undone. This is all the symptom of the system that we're
That's
trapped
tough to
in.
say. A symptom of the system.
Yeah, consonants, alliteration. Yeah, I love it. And so I was just looking up. I also thought this was interesting. I don't know where my mind. I was in a lot of places this morning. So like because the UAW strike was against, the big three like GM. I was looking up their CEO, Mary Barra or whatever. She makes $29 million annually. $29
That's a good
million.
deal.
That's 362 times the wages of the average or of the median worker at General Motors. And
That's
that's what
the
I mean when I say that socialism is about creating democracy in the workplace. This is not democracy in the workplace if you're making 362 times the wages of the median worker. She makes 550,000 give or take per week, and she's across a negotiating table with people who aren't getting paid during this strike, aren't going to be making up these wages, right? Who has the leverage in these situations? And I just
the
want to compare that
stockholder.
to
The
another place.
stockholder every time.
Exactly, the stockholder,
Every
correct.
time.
The
Yeah.
few, right? The
Yeah.
the profits and the power is with the few, and that's what I say. We are always talking about America's a free country. There is no democracy in our workplaces. They are dictatorships. I was also just
That's the.
checking.
By the way, that's below average. I think. What did you
Yeah,
say the rate was? How much more she was paid than her average employee?
362 times.
Do you know what the average is?
No, what is it?
Uh, 399 times.
Oh, so they're
That's
getting a deal
below
over at
average.
General
Yeah.
Motors.
Yeah, that's below. That's crazy. Like just the average CEO makes almost 400 times as much as the typical worker in 2021. That's from, and I know it went up in 2022.
And they'll never make up the wages they lost during the strike. They're not getting it back. She was sitting there comfy making $550,000 a
Wait,
week.
so they didn't include back pay in?
No, I don't think so.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's
How do they
quite.
recover? How do they
But
recover from that?
wait, let me
Does
just
the
follow my. I just
sorry,
want to tell
yeah.
you one more thing and get your opinion on it. So then I was looking up because I think we were talking about Toyota. We had a guest on who was saying like my truck was made in America. We're like, what are you talking about? The money goes to Japan,
Yeah.
right?
Wasn't
I
that
was look.
wait, wasn't that Gorilla?
I
Who was
don't.
that?
No, I don't think it was someone. It was someone
Okay.
gorilla like. But I was just so the CEO of Toyota is Akio Toyota, who's the grandson of the original founder. He guess what his salary is?
I don't know.
Six
Uh,
point seven million. So
oh.
just to give you an idea of the disproportionate, even in other places where there's capitalism and democracy, the golden parity, what America is paying these CEOs, the disparity in democracy in the workplace is wild in comparison with other countries. I was looking up the Honda CEO, Toshiro Mibag. His annual salary, 2.3 million, 1/10, basically,
And now, are they
of the
getting more
GM
money
CEO.
off the top with with stock options?
Well, I mean,
Then
but that I didn't even look that up. That doesn't even, who knows? I mean, we all know they get more in stock. Who I don't even I didn't even get into that. But I'm just drawing some comparisons. Like the BMW CEO, Olivier Zipse, 5.6 million. And I think we could all agree that like Japanese, German engineered vehicles just as good if not better than American, right? Ford CEO makes 21 million a year.
I love the person. Maybe just strive to be CEO. Oh, okay. Okay. The,
Yeah, that's the lesson we
comments
should
from the
all be learning
bootlickers
here.
always make me the happiest. Like, it's okay to admit the system sucks, even for like a true capitalist. Be the most true capitalist you can possibly be. Fine, but you should also at least be willing to acknowledge that it's a bad system. It's not working. That like this unchecked capitalism giving all this power and all this money to only certain people doesn't work in the benefit of our society. I don't get it. There's no good argument for it. There's no good argument for keeping things the same. And yet, somehow a bunch of Republicans have been cucked into just being the people who stand up and go, "No, we have to remain the same.
No, yeah,
We
you have to let me
demand that
keep
we
getting
can
robbed.
yeah, we have to keep getting fucked in the ass every single day. We demand it," which is weird for a party that's largely against that.
Yeah, the capitalism simps. It's unreal. Like we are all being robbed blind. And it's just an interesting like the question is who decides what happens with the surplus, right? Like, and that should be the workers. Everyone should have a vote of what happens with the surplus. It shouldn't be the shareholders and whoever doling it out amongst themselves, giving themselves a golden parachute. No one else gets anything. Anyways, that's just my
Somebody just
thought on the
messaged
end of the UAW workers strike.
someone just messaged me that works at Kaiser Permanente and said their CEO makes 36 million a year. That's don't worry, that's just your healthcare dollars. That's that privatized healthcare you guys are simping for down there. Got to make sure those CEOs make 36 million dollars a year.
It's it's so crazy when you think about it.
I was reading the news this morning. Also, I
Oh,
got
were
sucked.
you?
Yeah, where did it go? This was from Bloomberg. It was just talking about the problem we have with real estate. Real estate markets have completely slowed. Rates are at like 9%. And they were explaining why they can't do anything. They're actually
What's
stuck
the
right
name of the
now.
article? So if people want
This
to look it up.
is this is from November 2nd, but the U.S. housing market has become an impossible mess, and it's from Bloomberg Business Week. It's a hell of a
That's
title.
about right.
So close to 8% is the rate currently on a 30-year mortgage. That has added $1,100 to the monthly payment on a $400,000 loan since I think it was like since 2018. So because the economy stays like certain economic numbers continue to stay good, we have low unemployment. We have record profits. We have a strong workforce. We're still exporting. And so like the economy on the surface still looks like it's working. The problem is that most people that own homes right now are sitting on a mortgage that's probably below 4%. Like mine was a little high. I think we got in at maybe 3.5 or something like that. And so now people can't, you literally, if you have a house and you want to move, you can't go out and get another mortgage. It's going to be double the rate. You're going to pay more for less of your house, right? So nobody wants to move. If you drop the interest rates, corporations are going to just gobble that up. And we don't have enough houses to really justify dropping the interest rate because nobody wants to sell them, right? So the houses that are on the market are the houses that have already been on the market. They're not the houses anybody wants to go out and get. They compare this to the 80s. They call it the lock-in effect. And it was mortgage rates went from 9% to 18% in 1981, which left millions of households in below market rates. Now we have a higher number than that. If anybody was around for the 80s, I don't know who in here was around for the 80s, but it was a real problem where people couldn't buy houses. So the interesting thing about this article is it's just ending up with essentially they quoted Get Your Nest co-founder. It's a brokerage here in Phoenix. Basically, they're just saying, yeah, if you want to buy a house now and you have normal income, you have to go past the suburbs. You can't work in the suburbs, and people aren't willing to go past the suburbs, especially if they still have to commute for a job. And so it was a really interesting conclusion to this article that was just like, yeah, it turns out nobody really knows what to do right now. And that's the part that scares me the most. Because when nobody knows what to do, someone with a bunch of money, BlackRock, is going to step in and they're going to be the ones that are going to take on these loans. And they'll probably work out some deal with the government where they're going to, if they buy up homes, then they're going to be able to refinance those homes or get some sort of subsidized cost from the government because the government now is stuck. And they're going to say, oh, we can't sell homes. What are we going to do? Oh, we've got to let capitalism take over. And I'm very nervous that people with deep pockets are going to step in and claim they're saving the housing market when really they're just buying up more housing.
Yeah. I it's what we were talking about. What was that gentleman's name? Jay, and we talked to him, but was it Jay? Who was talking about we were talking about the median wages, or we
Yeah.
were talking about the consumer price index, and it's like you have to factor in housing, healthcare, and then I think this Bloomberg article says at the top it brings up student debt. Yeah, I mean, there's
Well,
when you
they
factor.
said like they were saying like all the things that could have led to like or that everybody's blamed for housing. But what the Bloomberg article does a really good job is saying like, hey, it's none of these things individually. It's literally all of this shit
Yeah,
together.
exactly.
It also addresses the ratio of median income monthly housing costs. they've risen by like 125%. And again, we know that that number, if it goes over 32% of your monthly income, every percentage over that on average, we're going to see an increase in homelessness. We're seeing this play out in real time. We're like every prediction that we've made, every prediction anybody's made, every economic indicator tells us that we have to do something to address wealth inequality. And yet, of course, Bloomberg. I think Bloomberg's being honest here at the end. Whoever wrote this article, this was Patrick Clark and Prashant Gopal. It does feel honest. How are you going to convince the government that we have to do something about this? How are you possibly going to convince enough people? Terrific. So this is the last line, by the way. This is the last line of the article. The family housing market is in a deep freeze. It will only thaw out painfully and slowly. That's how it ends. It's just like, hey guys, we backed ourselves into a corner and now it's going to hurt. So if you're the person who just bought a home, there's one of two things: that you're either rooting for the country to do better and you lose. You wind up upside down in your house because your mortgage rates are so high, the cost of housing is so high, or you're going to root for the government to step in and do something about it and artificially increase home sales. And you're going to vote for that because you're like, oh, I don't want to be upside down, not recognizing that if we give these corporations the power to go do what they're going to suggest they're going to do, you're suddenly going to see like us moving into that Russia model where you just have oligarchs who literally own everything and will become the serfs. Everybody's going to be, and every one of you bootlickers out there who's demanding that CEOs keep getting paid.
Because maybe one day it could be you.
Yeah, maybe one day. No, one day you're going to be like living in the houses that they bought for you, like the rest of us, and you'll be like, ah, shit, it couldn't have been me. It was never going to be me.
Yeah. I was just also, so not to just segue into the rich
No.
getting richer.
Do it,
Is that okay?
please.
I was just, so, Elon Musk has been under fire for promoting these kind of the the replacement theory, and in a very anti-Semitic way, if you will. And
If you
so
will.
if you
I will. I will.
I will.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So in the White House, so they denounced Elon Musk on Friday. I believe so the quote is abhorrent promotion of anti-Semitic and racist hate, right? So they denounce him, but then at the same time, I'm looking at a New York Times article entitled "The White House May Condemn Musk, but the Government is Addicted to Him." And when you're subsidizing all of his businesses, electric vehicles, solar, all of the SpaceX, it's like, at what point do words no longer matter? We are so in bed with it. We are literally subsidizing every business he has.
Yeah, he do you have that link? Let me see if I can pull up the link to the tweet. Pretty sure I have it.
I don't have the tweet.
Where is
Did he take it down?
It was just a response. It was basically, it literally was like, it wasn't even hidden at all. It was literally the Jewish question. That's basically what it was.
Yeah.
It was, the tweet summarized that Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of dialectical hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. The post also referenced hordes of minorities flooding Western countries, a popular anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. And all he said, he responded, "This is the truth."
You have said the actual truth.
Is that what it is? Yeah, you've said the actual truth.
I just found a New York Times article about it.
Okay.
You have said the actual truth. Like,
so he's getting
mind-boggling.
crushed. He's lost more
Disney
advertising.
pulled, he's losing a bunch of Fortune 5. You can't be that's what I try to explain as someone who used to work in advertising. That's why there's such policing about what words to say. I mean, just talking about illegal substances, no advertiser, no company wants to run advertising against those types of statements, and especially not this. I mean, this is crazy, especially in this climate, to be saying these types of things.
So he lost Disney, Paramount, NBC Universal, Comcast, Lionsgate, Warner Brothers, and Discovery, who own CNN. Also, apparently lost their deal with Apple And I heard Apple represents 4% of their advertising revenue. 4.
I'm
That's
not surprised to
just
hear that.
Apple represents 4% of their advertising revenue. One tweet by Elon, this brilliant man, because and I don't is Elon dumb or calculated? Is this a calculated move?
No, I think I don't want to say. I mean, reckless, I think would be the
That's a
right
better word.
word.
Yeah,
There's
reckless.
no, yeah, you can't. I mean, to for the his business is in peril, and to lose 4% of your ad revenue. I mean, at the company I worked at, I mean that's immediate termination, or the board's voting you out. You know, you can't.
Yeah,
You
it's
can't
nothing
lose
though
four
because he already
percent of
lost
your ad revenue because
60%.
you're just replying to posts. Like, yeah, 4%. I would love to know what their total ad revenue is.
I don't know, but so he's down. He was down. We were talking about this last week. He was already down 60% in ad revenue. Now he lost these. Like, what ad? Let's go to Twitter. And do you know how they found it? By the way, so he's getting mad. He's upset about the journalists saying that they're just going through and they're refreshing tweets to see if any of these tweets come up from like Apple and that's actually what they're doing. They're doing actual real journalism because Elon Musk isn't going to give them that information. He's not going to say like, "Oh, no, they're still like here's where they pulled ads." So you have journalists spending hundreds of hours refreshing tweets to see what's going missing, and because they come in a pattern, right? They figured it out. And he's so mad about that. He's basically saying like they're shitty journalists while they're doing incredible work. Like the most boring possible work you could do, just refreshing the same tweet over and over and over to figure this out. And he's not saying that they didn't figure out. He's just making fun of how they figured it out in typical Elon fashion.
Wait,
It's like,
explain to me that again, what you're talking about with refreshing and how they figured it out. Can you explain that
okay,
to
so
me?
when you pull up a tweet, like there'll be, it's usually the third. Let's go. How many is it? It's usually like the third or fourth one down, depending on who you're following. There'll be an ad, and those ads rotate. They're not pinned in there, right?
Yeah.
They'll be in the comment sections, but they rotate. So every time you refresh, it'll give you a new ad. And they were figuring out that these ads, depending on which what type of content you were watching, they would be in a rotation. So they could figure out when the ad would come back around. They're refreshing that, and ads started going missing that were coming around, and all these ads were started showing up missing. And they were keeping a record of it, and so he's like mad at them because they went out and they literally just sat there and fucking refreshed. I mean, I'm sure they have a program too that makes it faster. I don't know. Maybe they didn't, but that was like his criticism of the people and the journalists that are breaking this on Twitter. And they're like, "Yeah, we're just doing our job. This is what we do." He's probably just mad that it wasn't AI.
It's just also it's so confusing, the system of capitalism, because it is. I mean, we are in this or funding essentially, or going to be funding whenever the House gets their together. This conflict with Israel and Hamas. And we're pro-Israel, right? Support in
I don't
support
know.
of the
I haven't
Jew.
figured
Well,
it
no,
out
I'm
yet.
saying,
Yeah.
but I'm saying this is what the White House is saying.
No, I'm saying I haven't
But
figured out what the White House is at either.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
my point. It's like it's hypocritical, but then you're in bed with this billionaire who's making these insane. I mean, this isn't the first anti-Semitic thing that he's been involved in, and it's like make it make sense. Where is the consistency from the government? Did you see that a libertarian was elected
Oh my
president?
God, yes.
Oh, that guy.
Let me grab something out of the freezer real quick, and then I want you to. Do you know much about him? I thought you might. In
I
Argentina,
I
right?
don't. I just know that.
I'll be
So
right
there. I
back.
mean, South America is
Give me one
in.
sec.
I mean, South America is in a constant economic crisis, right? And so let's say Argentina's next president is a libertarian economist whose brash style and embrace of conspiracy theories has parallels with those of Donald J. Trump. So I would say, although South America is a underdeveloped part of the world, but it does mirror America in a lot of ways. Like there is that extremist, far right faction sort of fighting, I would say, like progressive Democrats, people who like that's what we saw in the Brazil election, that mirror, that where they kind of broke into the Capitol in the same way they did here with between Lula. But in that case, the leftist won. Lula, who wanted to preserve the Amazon and all that, and Bolsonaro, who was Trump's candidate, lost. In this case, this libertarian, Javier Milei, is, supported by Trump and mirrors his rhetoric in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Before I jump to that, guys, could you help us out with the likes and see if we can get onto the For You page? I appreciate it. There's a bunch of people here, and I know that we're having a good conversation. It would help if we could bump those likes up a
Yeah,
little
tap the
bit.
screen and share the live, or just hit the copy link button as well if you don't have anyone to share it with several times. That also counts as sharing it. Thank you guys. Sorry, I'll get better
Thank you.
at saying that. I
No,
love our
I never pay
conversations. I
attention
get
either.
lost in them.
So this is the typical like red wave. This is how red waves happen. When you look across other countries and you're like, wait, how are they electing like these far right leaders? It's not because their ideas are popular. It never is. It's because they like to blame other people. Like it's always grievances. If you look, I looked into it. Is it Malay? Is that how you say it, Malay?
I think so. Millet.
Millet? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So
Pronounce it wrong.
he won. You probably covered. He won with 56%, but he was running essentially like I think he wants to cut down the number of uh, government bureaucracies from
He
18
wants
to
to
8,
deregulate. Yeah, he wants
deregulate
to
everything. He
and
wants to
cut
go to
every
the dollar.
government.
Right. He's gonna
Every
switch from-
department he wants
Yes.
gone.
None of the things that he is advocating for have shown that they will have any effect on the things that these people are actually struggling with. Their country is in economic ruin. They cannot support the people in their country. There is not industry to support them. And now they're saying what we're going to do is deregulate and cut taxes, rely on the dollar, and make the government smaller. All that's doing is consolidating power. Just so you know, just so we're clear on that, like the people already don't have power. The government has power, but it's spread out amongst, at least 18 different departments. Now they're going to get rid of 10 of them, cut it to 8. You're now going to consolidate power, and you're going to have the same exact issues, except for the people right now, the only people there in Argentina that have any money, they're going to have more money now because the only people doing well are also going to get a massive tax break. There's no evidence that taxes are what's causing the problems in Argentina, but that is going to be the solution. This is just a consolidation of power. That's all
And
this is.
the trickle down, yeah.
Yeah.
This is the capitalists in the country gaining more power, more revenue, paying less taxes.
Do you know
Argentina, a lot of ways
Are
mirrors
they?
the
I know
United
they do
States.
beef, but do you know what their biggest I have no idea what their biggest exports are.
Oh, well, no, I'm not sure. This is interesting
look.
though. Amongst other than the just cuts to taxes and what we're talking about trickle down economics, he's also proposed banning abortion, loosening the regulations on weapons, and considering only countries that want to fight against socialism as
There it is.
Argentina's allies.
There it is. Their exports are corn is number one, followed closely by soybean meal, soybean oil, and then delivery trucks and wheat. So it's mostly agriculture here.
Tons of fertile land. Yeah,
Okay.
Argentina's a beautiful place.
Well,
Often
that
naming
would
the
explain
United
why they
States and
have-
Israel. He named United States and Israel as examples of allies like he wants to mirror.
Well, let's just look at this logistically. Your exports are corn, soybeans, delivery trucks, and wheat. All things that can't sustain you by themselves, and all critical components for worldwide agriculture. And we had a worldwide shutdown. Literally, their entire economy went away because of COVID. And then they're incorrectly identifying that the problem is that the government was too big and the taxes were too high. No, the problem is that your entire economic system can be collapsed with a worldwide pandemic. That's the problem. You have to figure out, you've got to figure out a different way, or you have to be smart enough to put money aside so that when you have a worldwide pandemic, you can make it through. But none of what he's saying they need to do would have fixed any of this. Not a single thing.
And I feel like when I was in South America, my apartment was in Ecuador, and what is being proposed here is essentially what Ecuador did, which is switch to Ecuador uses the American dollar as their currency, right, is very far right leaning. Well, they just elected a new president now, so we'll see. But is very far right leaning, capitalistic. It's like family corporation dynasties that do business with the United States. They deregulate, they don't support the workers, oppress the indigenous populations. This is what the CIA did in South America, is essentially prop up capitalists, people who are willing to work with American corporations, and they're succeeding each other in essentially corporate dynasties.
When you look at this war, like the war on capitalism versus socialism, have you ever been able to figure out why? Like why this has become a war with countries? I understand why the two together in one country competing against each other. I understand why you would have like some disagreements. I understand why you would have heated disagreements. I understand why you would have vehement discrepancies in where you feel like the direction of the country goes. But what I've really been trying to figure out is, and maybe you know this answer, like where does that come from? Where does this war of like, hey, like we're capitalist, you're socialist, you're evil, we're good. Where has that come from? How is that something that got turned into something worth going to war about?
I mean, isn't it all about this is all about the same thing, money,
But
privatized profit. If socialism to
but that's not.
allow
But
people
even then,
to
that doesn't make sense, right? I mean, so are you saying like? I guess it does make sense. So are you saying that because there's no benefit to us if another country becomes privatized and you're a nationalist? I guess from a nationalist perspective, if you're a nationalist and you hate other countries who are socialists, like it shouldn't matter what they are. That should help you. The socialist countries, if your economic theory really does work like that, shouldn't that help you? You want less competition, right? You want those countries to compete less with you if you're a nationalist, right?
I mean, they're negotiating against you. I mean, nationalizing, yeah, you could think of it that way. I think it's more about an ideology and catching on, right? So the opposite, like I always say, to me, it's crazy that there is no education in the United States around Marxism, around socialism. But that's because the most dangerous thing about socialism and Marxism is the idea, right? That there should be democracy in the workplace, that we, the workers, shouldn't be handing the surplus to our corporate overlords, that we should have a vote in what happens to the profits. And to understand that idea at all, the Western civilization has deemed as dangerous, right? To even let people think of, why don't I have a vote? Why don't I have a say what's happening here? I think it's what it represents. That's why you see there's no teaching of Marxism. There's
Yeah,
no
it
teaching of
represents true
socialism.
democracy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
You'll see that we talked about, who was it the other day that was talking about it on Fox News that said true democracy doesn't work. And then
it doesn't exist.
yeah, but they were afraid of it. And then I was
Yeah.
watching the podcast with Eric Weinstein and Dave Rubin, and they were like, true democracy, we can't have that. We can't have true free speech, and we can't have like true democratic elections. Like we cannot have that. It truthfully is like somehow that the people on the right are the most anti-democracy, and yet the loudest about democracy. Love democracy, don't understand that socialism is democracy.
Exactly. And think about it though, and how brainwashed the right is. If you're part of the working class, middle class, whatever, and you hear them saying, we're not a democracy, we're a republic, right? They love it. They love to yell that, not knowing that that means you yourself have no rights, right? We are literal slaves. We're in an economic system working as slaves. We have no representation at whatsoever. And that's not something to be proud of. You should ask yourself why you're excited to be robbed.
Yeah. Again, we basically started this country saying like we need to be represented. We need to be no taxation without representation. And yet again, it's the right wingers sitting there just like doing. It's not even bootlicking at this point. It's more like being human shields than bootlicking. It's standing in front, taking all the bullets meant for the capitalists, and saying like, "This is a good thing," while you just take bullet after bullet after bullet.
Yeah,
Like, I'm proud to go
exactly.
down for this. I noticed it's only us poor people here at the front. That's okay. I get this is how this is supposed to work.
6% of the privatized workforce in America are unions. Only 6%. So that speaks, it also speaks to what your question is like, why it's the idea that is so fearful. Why spend so much time stamping out unions when it's such a small percentage of what's even going on? Because if that idea catches on, right? If people go to revolution school and realize, right, through reform, through one small reform, that we can make more reforms, and then start realizing, oh, wait, it's not just reform we need. We have to change the system. Because if we work so hard for a reform and they can just undo it, with more laws, more dark money, more lobbying. Like that cannot stand. I mean, it's the education they don't want us to have. They don't want us to learn how to reform and also to learn the lesson of it's not reform that we need in the end, right? It's revolution. We need to upend the economic system that we're all trapped in.
Excuse me, I muted. What name would you give to your school, your Revolution School?
I don't
Let's
know.
come
I
up
need
with
to
a
think
name
about
for it. I think we need to come up with a name for Revolution School.
We will.
In
We
the
should. We should teach less. Maybe we'll do it. Create a channel and do VCs about it in the Discord.
in the
Who
Discord,
wants to go to Revolution School? I feel like a lot of people will enroll.
I want the Discord to
Hulk
give us
Hogan Institute.
yeah.
Che
In the Discord, in the
Guevara's
comments.
Revolution School.
Re-education Hogwarts. That's good. I like Hogwarts.
Re-education.
I feel like that one might have been used once or twice before. I'm so excited to watch Harry Potter with my daughter. That's like our Christmas thing is we watch Harry Potter, and she's never been into it till this year. Uh, symptom of the system. Symptom of the system. Rev School. I don't know. I don't know if that's the name of the school. Anti-Trump University. That's not bad.
Oh yeah.
The Umbrella Academy. Hey, that's catchy.
Yeah.
We could do something with that. All hail Mao Zedong, Tyler. Tyler just comes in and is like, it means Mao.
Hey
It
Tyler,
means Mao.
missed you, Tyler.
School of Felice's fomentation of insurrection.
Oh, okay.
So that means
I'm probably on a list somewhere.
we need more vowels in there in order for it. I ain't falling.
Fomentation.
Apocalypse says I ain't falling for this Mormon cult bullshit. Does sound similar.
I do love that lesson because you're so right that Mormons were Marxists.
Yeah.
I just never thought about it that way.
Yeah, either do
Until
they, by the way. But I did. One of my Republican friends that I golf with is also Mormon.
He must not have liked that.
That was the one that told me like he didn't mind lesbians as long as they weren't throwing it in his face. That was that friend. God, it was weird. I haven't been there for
He
so
said
long.
that?
Yeah, this is the thing. Like that's like a, and that was like too woke for some. Like he's kind of like a woke Republican. And he was just like, yeah, I have my wife and I, we've gone to dinner with them. They're lesbians. And I think I told you this, that he was like, the one that's like the man in the relationship. Oh, yeah. And I was like, okay. He's like, yeah, that one's a Trump supporter. I was like, all right, well, that makes sense, actually. That makes perfect sense. Because, like, if their relationship was like that, they're like, yeah, yay, patriarchy. But then he's like, yeah, I just like them. It's like, they just don't throw it in our face. And I was like, I tried to get common ground with him. I was like, yeah, I think it's uncomfortable for anybody to make out in front of me. I'm always uncomfortable, whether that's two men, two women. Like, I don't care. That's uncomfortable. He's like, yeah, but it's worse when it's gay. And I'm like, all right, well, I tried. That was an attempt at olive branch.
It's also like
no.
they're not like he believes, that they're purposely going near him and just beginning to make out.
And I was thinking about that. I had a moment of clarity because I was like, people don't do that. And then I was like, wait a minute. We just talked to Guerrilla Radio, and it's possible that Nina did exactly that, and I fucking love her for it. I do.
Yeah.
Then I started thinking, I was like, you know what?
around
There are people who do it in front of everybody else just because they can, and I get why they're annoyed by that because they're weird and uncomfortable, but I also love it. So now I'm going to advocate for more of that.
I was going to say, I think I need to start doing that. Like, I'm going to find, like, a woman to make out with, and you can film it, and we'll just go stand next to Republic at Trump rallies.
Yeah, if I could listen, my voice means nothing in the LGBTQIA plus. Did I get them all?
You're the
Did I do it
cameraman.
right? Yeah, look, my voice means nothing, but I want you to know that I absolutely advocate for you throwing it in everybody's face.
I have
In
volunteers.
every instance.
I
If you can
accept.
start we should do, let's start a movement. We'll call it
Yes.
throwing it in their faces. Here's the movement.
Yes.
Hashtag
It's
throw it in their face.
it's kind of like that
Everybody,
movement where
from now
Antifa
until
people.
Christmas, it's going to double as a war on Christmas. We're going to do two things at once. We're going to start the war on Christmas, and we're going to do hashtag throw it in their face. And from now on, everybody, every one of you that is not heterosexual, every one of you, just go film yourself like making out with your partner of choice in places that are uncomfortable for people. I'm talking post offices, churches specifically, specifically churches. A good place to go would go to Golden Corral around 4:30
Oh,
p.m.
yes,
and just sit
yes.
on the bench and make out with the person of your choosing with a shirt that says "I'm whatever." Right? Let's make it throw it in their face November. Every single you can join the Discord.
November's
I will
almost over. December.
listen. I will post any video anybody sends me making out, making Republicans uncomfortable. I will. You can put it on yours. I'll repost it. We will blow it up. Throw it in their face November, followed by the war on Christmas. We're gonna make it all the way through December 25th. We're just gonna make people uncomfortable for over a month now. We got
Someone says, I will
35
donate
days.
my bi wife for the good of this experiment. Thank you. Thank you for that sacrifice.
Yes.
We do accept.
Whisper, if we could get a couple hashtag throw it in your face or throw it in their face shirts that we could wear on lives, or maybe make a background for us all to hashtag throw it in their face.
Whisper says I can make everyone uncomfortable. I
For
don't doubt
either either Jen or Korean Leftist, if you could make a channel hashtag throw it in their face in our channel in the Discord, and you guys can throw them in there. If you want to add to this, you can either tweet your video at me with hashtag throw it in their face, and I will retweet them all as well, or we can throw them in the Discord.
Operation Frenching for Communism. It's a loose title. It's like that Antifa movement where they were going around punching schmazzies in the face. Do you remember that and filming themselves
Yeah,
on YouTube?
Someone go to BYU. We can do some soaking for socialism.
Oh,
That would be
BYU.
good.
They would.
Yeah.
You're not even allowed to like walk on the grass at BYU. Could you imagine?
Yeah, I can imagine. I can't wait for this. This is going to be terrific. This is going to be my favorite holiday season of all time.
Yeah, maybe I'll get out of my drought.
Well, is bad views can you not leave the state, or what if
Okay, wait.
I get bad views to kiss me on the mouth?
That can yes, that's yes.
Bad
I
views,
think
if
that's
you're
a great
here,
idea.
we could really do some damage out there in your neck of the woods.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and you're gonna be in
Cucking for
Utah.
communism. That's nice. I like that one. That might have been a
That's the
right winger
channel.
there. Yeah,
I know. You
some of
guys can
some of
get
these ideas are probably just like conservatives throwing out their most awful things they can think of, but they're actually pretty good.
I have not to segue, but I have another thing I wanted to get your opinion on, which I
Yes.
thought was very. What have you thought, or what do you think? I mean, I know in the tech industry, like we probably will never know like what this is really about, but have you seen that Sam Altman, who is the CEO, like create genius behind OpenAI, he was
I know who he
fired
is.
suddenly, displaced by the board?
And then
Ousted?
rehired like immediately by
No,
Microsoft.
no, he's still yeah, and he just this just happened, and then as of this morning, like 550 of like the 700 employees are saying that they're going to leave and go to Microsoft with him if the board isn't dissolved or something.
Why did they fire him?
That's the thing. I mean, in the tech industry, no one knows.
Wait,
but I mean, it was
550 out of the 700 employees, so all but 150 said they
yeah.
will
There's
join
an open
Altman.
letter. Yeah. This is crazy.
What?
500. Yeah, this is insane. This is just happening. The mission continues, and it's like super cryptic. But yeah, Microsoft. Can you imagine how much money they're shelling out for him? And they're basically like, whoever wants to come to Microsoft,
Wait,
they're giving him his own lab.
this is bizarre. So from the board firmly stands by its decision as the only path to advance and defend the mission of OpenAI, said the memo on Sunday. referring to Mr. Altman's removal from the company on Friday. It was signed by each of the 4 directors on the company's board. Put simply, Sam's behavior and lack of transparency in his interactions with the board undermined the board's ability to effectively supervise the company in the manner it was mandated to do. So they're saying he was keeping something from the board. Do we know what it was?
Well, I mean, we can't like imagine this is AI. Like whatever the innovations are going on are not something. That's what I'm saying. Will we ever know what's really going on here? It says Mr. Altman's firing startled the tech industry and OpenAI's investors, which Microsoft is one of the investors. Sequoia Capital, Thrive Capital, so the big venture capital firms and Microsoft, which Microsoft says has invested more than 13 billion. So when they saw this, then Microsoft made a move and snapped him up, which also sounds like a huge conflict of interest.
This is bizarre.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So
saying. This
now we
is
have to
like
figure out.
super fascinating.
Now we have to figure out who do we think the good guy is here. Is it
That's
Sam
what I'm
Altman who
saying.
goes to Microsoft? Do we trust Microsoft? Is it the board? The board's almost always the bad guy. In
Yeah.
every movie, the board is
Oh
the bad
yeah, for
guy.
sure, for sure. And the fact that Microsoft is one of the major investors and gave Altman a job like this and basically gave him his own lab and free reign and will let him bring whoever he wants probably denotes, oh yeah, maybe
Speaking
Whisper
of
probably
bringing
knows more.
whoever,
Whoever, the
the
riffraff.
I know the answer to this one.
oh hot damn! Hey, good morning.
Good morning, buddy.
What do you think
You have an
about?
amazing singing voice too, Whisper. I was like, I'm the third
What?
wheel in
What?
a boy band.
Did you write down the hashtag? Whisper.
Uh, I did not, but just message it to me and I'll get it done. I'm actually in the middle of work, so I don't have a ton of time, but I have the answer for the Sam Altman thing.
You're in the middle of you're in the middle of your work,
He's moonlighting
Yeah,
in another company.
and you.
I haven't started my part.
All right.
Just don't worry.
Go ahead.
I have a couple minutes.
Go
Shut
ahead.
up. The reason that Sam Altman was
The
ousted
reason
was
Sam Altman is
fucking you stop. The reason he was ousted was because he wanted to put protections in place that would have inhibited the growth of ChatGPT. That's why OpenAI has had significant issues with youth and children being manipulated by the AI's algorithms because AI is not 100% accurate, but it generates articles, it generates information in a format that is extremely manipulating and very, very easy to be fooled by. And so OpenAI had been approached by the DoD for a basically it's very similar to the information whistleblowing that happened with Edward Snowden. Very, very similar. The DoD had approached ChatGPT to start getting information on what searches were and start manipulating the data that was actually being given. Sam Altman was like, nope, not going to do that. Not going to do that at all. And the board just so happens to have people that are either related to or have had dealings with high officials in the military. So there you go.
interesting
Wow.
because they're kind of on a like I haven't used ChatGPT for a little while. I used it when I was doing some marketing stuff, but I know that like it was limited to up to 2021. That because I didn't have the other version, so
It's not anymore.
okay, so that's what I was wondering. Is that part of what is because that was one of my concerns with AI is if the information is current and up to date, if it's pulling stuff from the website today, you potentially can pull some pretty horrific things that are going to be wrong,
Correct.
right? And they initially protected themselves against that as much as they could by being on a 2-year delay. So
Correct.
are they seeing problems with that now?
A ridiculous amount of problems. And like I
That's
said,
what you're talking about with children.
yes.
So
And
what
so
kind of do you have an idea of like what would that mean? Like, could you give me an example of like where you would
So
run?
they could use it to manipulate politics a ton. They could get information. Say the military wanted Joe Biden to win, right? That's all they wanted to do. If you type in something, that was very common for you to type in, who is better, Trump or Biden? It
Yeah.
would then give a biased report on that. Prior to that, those types of protections being taken off.
And was that based on the algorithm? Like
Yeah, it's
okay.
based on
Is it
information
based
that
on your personal algorithm or is that based on like the Google search results algorithm or how like I don't even know how OpenAI sources their information. How do they choose what they're going to give you?
It pulls from a variety of databases, and it's deep learning. There's a lot of stuff that can go into it, but basically, I don't have time to get into that. I really don't.
Yeah.
But basically,
you don't want to lose it completely. I hear you.
Well, you don't. But a lot of information could be easily manipulated and fed into the AI, and it could actually sway the AI's learning and sway the information that's being given out. And Sam Altman was vehemently against that, like 1,000% against that. Like, did not like that at all.
Okay.
The fact that he's at Microsoft is weird, but at the same time, man's got to eat. So
I hear you. We all got to eat.
He's got to at least continue his lifestyle, and I don't blame him for that. But that's part of the reason that he was ousted from OpenAI.
That's got to be cool for anybody who's like a huge Xbox nerd, though, right?
No.
Okay, never mind. All right.
No.
Why? Why wouldn't you want like the guy from AI over at Microsoft? Wouldn't you want wouldn't that make potentially some better games?
I guess no. I don't think it would make better games, but I guess
if you're using AI, couldn't you generate like better NPCs, like more evolved?
I think
NPCs
he's a little higher level
NPCs
than the Xbox games.
Yeah.
Well, why would Microsoft want him though?
Microsoft wants him for their Bing AI.
Oh God!
So Microsoft
they have a product, their own product, just like Google has Bard.
Correct.
.ai, like they're all competing.
I didn't know Bing still exists. I just checked it out. My God.
Yeah.
It's horrific.
It's completely AI powered now.
It is?
It is.
So AI is pretty bad at design. This is horrendous. This is chaos. There's pop-up ads on a search engine.
So,
I've had to close 3 pop-up ads. I haven't searched for anything yet. This is so bad.
like I said, there's a lot of things that AI can be used for. There's a lot of things that AI can, but the manipulation of AI is a huge issue, because if you build these systems and you don't allow them to be bipartisan and look up conflicting information and oppose itself, then basically you're just going to grow it into whatever you want. And so you could grow AI potentially into a left-wing machine or a right-wing machine. You could do whatever you wanted, and you can manipulate everyone, because everyone has an inherent trust that AI is going to give them information faster, and so they're just going to trust what information they're being given.
Yeah.
The general population, that is. And so
I've noticed that several times with Bard. Like if you are intelligent, you know a little bit about the subject you're looking up, you'll notice they're giving incorrect information.
Correct.
It's scary.
Yeah, and it's fine if it's fine if you put the disclaimer in front of it that, hey, well, that was one thing that I liked about OpenAI as well. They put an information in front and say, be like, look, this could go either way. It's subjective. It's based on opinion. But here's what I found on the internet. Like, he would say stuff like that. But they want to remove those protections and just present everything as fact that AI is spitting out. Which is
I just found out what Bard was. I know. Is this like?
Oh, good Lord Jesus!
All right.
Yeah,
My bad.
This is Google's AI product.
Well, I used ChatGPT, and then I hated it. Because I felt like
you'll like Bard more. I
just felt like it gave me answers instead of sources. It didn't help me understand things. It just helped me get quick answers. It like fucked me up. Yeah.
There you go. That's exactly the issue with systems like that, and that's what they wanted to continue to do. Is so whatever it spit out, you were just trusting inherently. But ChatGPT and OpenAI does a lot of really, really awesome things. There's a lot of things that it can do for businesses, small businesses. It can do a lot of marketing. It's really, really good for marketing. Extremely good for marketing. And because it can create things,
Yes.
it can create data, it can create all of your marketing materials, way faster than you can. And you just pick a template and you go, oh, this is what I want it to look like. You tell it what information you want it to graph. It'll graph it. It'll do all the busy design work for you, basically on the fly, which is really, really important to marketing individuals.
Well, thank you.
Well, there you go.
I was unaware of any of that. Thank you.
And
well, you have a good work day.
Yeah, stay firm in your convictions.
And by the way, I do
your
have to say
convictions.
this.
That is.
I want to say this last thing before I'm done. Do you know how Gorilla could have won this whole thing if he would have just been like, look, I misunderstood the terms. I'll donate $250 if you donate $250. That would have been the only thing to do.
He could have done it.
He would have done that.
He also could have found the video. That would have also.
Well, that could have happened as well.
The video could have existed, and he could have found it.
but everyone could have won. But he's just too much of a pussy to give his niece money. He wants to win more than to help his niece. Which
We're gonna have to all give his niece some money just
Yeah.
to shame him.
Yeah.
Let's find justice for Nina.
Justice for
Later,
Nina.
guys.
Hashtag
I'm outta
justice
here.
for Nina.
Bye,
Stay
Whisper.
firm.
Bye,
And
Jay.
hashtag throw it in their face November. Is that what it was?
I don't know.
We gotta be able to shorten that a little bit.
Yeah, it's a working title. So I don't even understand what he was saying, what Gorilla was saying yesterday. So he's just arguing the same argument that we went through on Saturday. Like he's tripling down on the same thing.
So here's what he thinks. He thinks that those the Border Patrol numbers from the vehicle seizure or the vehicle checkpoint seizures. What he thinks is that all of those drugs that were found in those vehicles were smuggled over the border, and then somebody put them in a truck, and then they were seized at checkpoints. That's what he thinks the data is telling him. The data is not telling him that. And in fact, there are quotes on CBP saying that the number remains the same. That some of those vehicles very well could have picked up drugs from the border, but first of all, if you're picking up those drugs from the border and you're going to drive them across, you are going to make a lot of changes. You're going to want to put it in a vehicle that looks different. You're going to probably try and smuggle it through back roads. Like you can skip all of these vehicle checkpoints if you know where you're going. Just so you know.
I was going to say the ones in Arizona, they're on the main highways.
And if you got caught, if you were skipping those checkpoints, let's say in a different vehicle, and you got caught, those numbers would not have been included in the vehicle checkpoint seizures. So none of the things that he's talking about really apply to those numbers. But the main thing is that the video said, what he said the video said is that more people or more drugs come across the border illegally, like walked across, than through ports of entry. That was the entire crux of the original argument. And he spent that much time going on. And then I thought, here we go. Here's a chance for another MAGA to show that they'll be honest. And then, was it Eric? Is that his name?
Oh, the one and only. Yeah.
Dumbest,
Eric.
So stupid. Eric also owes $100.
I was trying to think of what I was describing, like what he was doing. Is it like mumble yelling? Is that a good way to describe what Eric's constantly doing? Because you can't distinguish any of the words, but he never stops talking.
Eric, I don't know if Eric is who I think he is.
Yeah, he is.
Well, yeah, but
I mean, I was shocked when you said at the beginning that you didn't remember him because I'm like, you've been in some epic disagreements.
I just don't remember the name. Yeah, I think I do know who Eric is. I've been thinking about it, and I think that he's hangs out in a live that I'm banned from, where they just yell and I'm trying to remember the guy's name. His son, I think I said something mean to his son once. I didn't know his son. His son was also in the panel, and I said so. Anyways, and Eric he waits to be outraged. Am I right on who this? He sometimes goes on camera. He has like a beard, kind of like
no, he doesn't have a beard. I don't think. No,
like a skinnier dude with.
Oh no, he is skinny. Yeah.
He reminds me of.
Skinny.
I watched what's that Marcus Lone Survivor? I was watching Lone Survivor yesterday. And there's a character in there. It's like the redheaded character. He was also in.
Looks like Kid Rock.
310 to Yuma. Yeah. Okay.
If you squint.
Yeah. Okay. So that is who he is. He just wants to be mad, and so that's what
Jay says. Eric does not have a beard.
Okay, I might be mixing him up with
Jay.
someone else then. I don't know.
Yeah, the one and only. That's who we're talking about.
I don't remember screen names very well. If I see somebody's face, I'll remember, but I don't remember the screen names very well. And I'm guessing that Eric, based on how he talks, has multiple people who, or has multiple screen names. I don't know if Dio, I know you're not opposition. I'm just looking for opposition right now. Is Eddie 101 opposition, or is that the other Eddie? I never remember which Eddie is Eddie.
I don't think he's opposition.
Okay, just looking for. Oh yeah, he's not MAGA's fucking nuts. Probably not. This is what I wanted to do.
We would like to talk to a Republican. Who wants to talk to me? You don't even have.
This was the question. I don't want to debate. I'm not putting up anything. I'm not telling you that you're mad. We just want to ask you some questions. That's it. We're not even going to argue. I just want to figure out what makes you tick. And I'm going to ask you some questions that might require you to get to a point where you're not sure. And that's okay too. but I just legitimately want to figure out how you think, what you think about, and why you think certain things. So if you're a Republican here, I'm not going to yell at you. In fact, I will let Felice ask the
Just
questions.
another store. Are you a Republican? Come up here. I doubt it.
I'll be happy to go on mute. I've been having some trouble.
Well, what is our line of questioning? They were out heavy yesterday. So what's that?
I just want to. So here's my
You're
my
allowed
first
to get
question. My first question to them would be, why Donald Trump and not somebody else? That would be my first question. Why do you
Yeah.
have to have Donald Trump? If I hear a lot of times when the conversation breaks down, when we're at a point where like we just can't find any common ground. David says this a lot, and I believe David believes this. That like, why can't we just come together? Why can't we find a middle ground? And I know David wants that. David's so frustrated with me because I've lost all my patience for David. That's why
You have lost your
that's why
patience for David.
I had to take a couple days. Like I had to take the day off yesterday, and that's why I chose this topic today because I am like it is getting frustrating. It is getting to a point where it's the same argument every single fucking day, and the way I'm doing it like it's worked for some people, but for I think what's left of MAGA, they want to be heard, and they don't really want to argue. That's what I think, and that's okay. So I'll hear you. I'll adjust my style to hear MAGA. I'll give you the platform. I won't cut you off. I won't give you gotchas. I just want to hear what you have to say. If you're really somebody who's serious about saying like we're going to come together, we're going to make this work, then just show up. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah,
Let's do
who
it.
I have really lost all their talking point. Yeah, since Tucker got fired. I know the script. They've lost the script. Tucker was really the guy who was driving that train.
That is remarkably accurate. So just so we're clear, the confusion by MAGA absolutely coincides with the dismissal of Tucker, because Tucker was the person. Everybody else mirrored what Tucker did.
Just another store. Do you want to come up?
Whatever
Only
Tucker
if we
said
promise.
that night, the next day, every Republican show was going to be on those topics. Tucker was the trendsetter, but he would do it the night before, so sometimes it didn't feel like it always felt like he was ahead. Well, he was, because he was the trendsetter. And then you got Ben Shapiro, Dave Rubin, all the Fox shows the next
trickle
day
down.
playing catch up. Yeah, and that's what happened to Hannity. That's why Hannity became a little bit less popular than Tucker, is because Tucker was always pushing it a little bit further, and he was always pushing out like new stuff. He knew that you couldn't just keep hearing the same thing over and over, you get bored. So he would just take it further and further right. You see him now. Now he's trying to take the most bizarre middle stance ever with Israel and Palestine. Him and Candace Owens, they were like anti-Semitic 6 months ago.
It's so
And, like,
strange.
But I think it's almost like they're like, why is everybody supporting Israel now? It's like, well, and I think both of them are a little bit more honest than the others. I think they recognize that they're a little bit anti-Semitic, and they can't walk that back. And they don't want to walk that back. They want to draw a line of delineation. Candace Owens wants to say, like, yeah, Ben Shapiro is left of me. Tucker wants to be able to say these people are
Is
left
that
of
what their
me.
feud is about? Is that what she's saying essentially?
She's now saying, like, they're going basically after anybody who's Jewish and saying, like, like, where were you? Where were you protecting the Zionists before that? Because they are Zionists, right? And now
Yeah.
they're basically saying, like, we're Zionists. We've always been like, we've always had a problem with the Jewish people who didn't come along with us, the Jewish Christians, right? But where was everybody else? Why weren't you guys with us? So it's like this weird balance where you have the actual white nationalists, or I guess not Christian nationalists. That's better. You always correct me on that. You're good. You have the Christian nationalists versus the Republicans now. And Ben Shapiro obviously can't be a Christian nationalist because he's not a Christian. So he's got to be like, no, I'm just like I'm a Republican. And then you have the Christian nationalists. And we're seeing that's the gap now. Because Ben Shapiro can't just side with Christianity. He can't do it. He can do Judeo-Christian. He can do that shit he's been doing for decades now,
Stop
pretending
short
they're
of the evangelical.
they're
take.
together somehow, despite the fact that they're not. And now, and you got Tucker and Candace going, no, it's the Christians versus the Jews. It's not Judeo-Christian. This is Christian. These are Christian values. So
Sometimes I wonder too, like if Candace and Ben behind the scenes are like, "Oh, this is good for clicks," you know what I mean? Like, this is the latest thing they have going on at Daily Wire. There's got to be some rage farming
well,
constantly going on. I mean, that's huge on Twitter. They're getting a ton of traffic on their
well, and
back and
here's
forth.
100% Candace has something in her contract where if Ben fires her, she gets paid out. And she seems to know that.
It's
Because Ben's like Ben just keeps saying like, why don't you quit? Why if you hate it so much, why don't you quit? And she's just like, I'm not saying shit. If she quits, she loses that
I
money.
didn't think about that.
If
You're
she get
right.
oh, it's 100% what's happening. She wants to go join Steven Crowder. She want her Crowder, Tucker, they all want to put this group together and but they need to show some division there. It's why Steven Crowder did that when he left or when he pretended that like Ben Shapiro was being unfair because he didn't give him
Yes,
$50
and Matt
million
Walsh, and they read
they're
the
like,
whole contract.
yeah, and they're like, hey, if
That
your
was
channel gets
crazy.
demonetized, you don't get paid. He's like, that's unfair. It's like, this is literally capitalism. Like that's they only make money off of you because of your YouTube channel. So if it's demonetized, they don't make money. And he's like, that's not fair. We all need to share in the profits. It's like he was advocating socialism on his way out, which was beautiful. But that's what this is. This is infighting. And they recognize that there's Christian nationalists versus Republicans. This is going to be the divide now. And I think it's a bad move by Republicans. I think they will consolidate but lose power. Because there's enough Republicans that don't want to be Christian nationalists.
I agree. Well, and because they're losing, probably the ones in these more liberal districts, they're losing because of the abortion issue as well. Like, that's why you're seeing this divide, because I think that a lot of Republicans are going, I can't win running on this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
this is not good for my district.
By the way, the video, I didn't make it through, the TikTok you put up this morning of Chip Roy. Was it Chip Roy?
No, not Chip Roy.
The other bald guy, the Texas guy.
Oh, no, he's from Louisiana. Are you talking about Clay Higgins'
Clay
breakdown?
Higgins. He's from Louisiana. That's right, Louisiana.
That's the ghost
right.
bust man, the man
Yes.
who questioned Christopher Wray about
Yes.
the ghost buses that he is convinced were full of FBI agents.
He's having a really tough morning.
Yeah, that was yesterday morning. Do you want me to play it?
I've got it up. I'll play
Yeah,
it.
go ahead.
From the man who questioned Christopher Wray in a congressional hearing last week about ghost buses to a Monday morning nervous breakdown. Is Clay Higgins okay?
Realize that the oppression that we face right now, like we must stand up. This coming year, the 2024 election cycle, man, we're either going to save this thing or we're going to lose it.
You're losing it.
Not to China or Iran or Russia. We lose our country to oppressive forces, nefarious, insidious forces from within our country.
What is he talking about?
The left.
What the fuck oppression is he talking about?
He believe the GOP is being oppressed, as we know.
Is he talking? Yeah, but is he talking about Donald Trump being investigated? What, like, honestly, what is he talking about?
Is he sitting
fuck is he-
in front in a cemetery crying?
Yeah.
I
Also,
mean,
yeah,
what-
he's clearly in front of. He's
some
clearly in
sort
front
of
of some sort
memorial?
of monument. Yeah, in a leather coat. Like
leather coat.
he's every fucking MAGA that comes on here, and we're like, "Hey, dude, can you just not stand right next to a road when you try to talk to somebody on a phone?" And this is what he's clearly like next to a highway. In some,
You could hear the cars like zooming
yeah,
by.
he's in his. He looks like he hasn't slept in days. He looks like I feel right now, just having this absolute meltdown. But what the fuck is he? What Republicans, if you're here and you know what oppression, maybe I missed it. Maybe you've been being oppressed and I missed it. Please let me know. But what is he talking about? Do you have
I mean,
any clue?
It's the depression that Trump's talking about, right? The white reverse racism is one, right? We're all trying to force.
Where is this being shown? Where do they feel the reverse racism is being shown?
In colleges.
in college. How
Affirmative
so?
action. That's why they had to roll back affirmative action or whatever.
Okay, so we're
Too
gonna
many
talk about
minorities
like.
were getting into college.
So we're talking about that one. You got that plus the one school that did like a no white people day, right? So those are
Well, and like,
basically that's all the
yes.
oppression. Oh, okay.
Your idea, or and like what we're talking about with Elon Musk and the replacement theory, this idea that like brown immigrants are coming and taking their jobs. I mean, this is all the oppression of the white man. That's what we're seeing.
M. Scott in the Discord with the receipts from a tweet from Clay Higgins.
What does it say? I don't
My
even-
God. My wife has the gift of premonition.
Oh no.
Last night. So he's just setting this up with, just so you know, this is correct because my wife. Jesus, this is giving me Lori Vallow vibes. Last night, she dreamed that federal squads were in our home seizing pew-pews, knives, unauthorized foods, and stored water. They said we had been reported. Becca awoke crying. What happened to our freedoms, she asked. What indeed? If my wife at the time woke up
Yeah,
and said,
I'd be
"What
like,
happened
honey, we're
to
gonna
our
get you
freedom?"
help. We're
I
gonna
would
get you
say,
help.
"Hey, I think it's possible since you just woke up that was a fucking dream, and that we did not indeed." Did anybody check with Clay when they went downstairs? Had they been rid of their pew-pews, knives, unauthorized foods, and stored water?
Unauthorized foods.
Yeah, what is an unauthorized food? Meat? I bet it's meat. I bet it's meat. Oh yeah, they said we had to have just tofu. That's what they're trying to do. Clay Higgins, and this is 2020. These are the people you guys are sending to Congress. This is why your party is struggling. This is why you guys keep losing. They're just so dumb, guys. Can we just talk to some of you? Can a couple of you? Just
Yeah,
come up
why
and talk to
won't
us?
you guys talk to
We
us?
just have
We are
questions.
here to listen.
Can you just tell us how you're being oppressed? Like, where is the anti-white rhetoric? Just tell me where the anti-white rhetoric is. Show me where the systemic oppression is coming from of white people. Just, it's fine. We'll listen. I'll hear you out. I'll let you say all sorts of things that normally I would cut you off because I'm turning over a new leaf. I'm not gonna interrupt people as much. That's what I'm gonna try and do.
Wow, this is news.
Miss Julie got mad at me. She said that I interrupt people too much. So I said, okay. And it's true. I did. Honestly, I looked back and I was like, you know what? Here's what happens. I hear the same argument every day. And so when I've already heard that argument, my ADHD is like, nope, shut up. I already heard it. And so I'm like, I'm going to let people say shit that I already know isn't true. That's what I'm going to try and do this week. We'll see. Actually, today's probably the only day I'm going live this week, but maybe tomorrow.
I get the rest of the week off? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, you can
till
go
right
live
now.
on your own.
What shall I
Well,
do
I've got to
with my
drive
time?
I have to drive to Utah, and I was going to be there all week, and then I'm like, I really don't want to be there. I'm probably not going to see Whisper. Dustaroni, are you opposition? Well, it's a beautiful rainbow. Hey, there's Caleb. Caleb, the most sent. Maybe Caleb can tell us. Maybe Caleb could tell us about.
Caleb.
You talk to Caleb. You're the Caleb Whisperer. You
No,
and
I'm
Nemo are
not.
friends with him.
Stop it. I just met him. What you did. You've known him longer than me.
Oh, well, it seemed. I thought you knew because Nemo.
No,
had
that
talked
was
to
the
him.
first time I ever spoke to him.
Sorry, I apologize. Dustaroni, why are you scared? Dustaroni was in the comments and now not, or in the guest request and now not. But Caleb, did you get banned from Saturday night? Caleb was nice on Saturday night. Huh. Was that Saturday? Oh, here's Dustaroni.
Hey guys,
Everybody, if you're here, follow Caleb so he can come up. He needs 200 followers. Hey, Dustaroni.
can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
All right. Well, I don't know. I think it's easy to look past the common man with intellectual idealism and dismiss the despair that their position holds. I really do.
I agree with
And
that.
I think that the institutions as a whole have failed many common men, and a representative that claims they'll destroy that is very enticing. You know what I mean? Uh, what?
Yeah.
How does Joe Biden represent something that's going to be enticing to people who are in despair and sick of intellectual idealism?
Yeah, that's a good question. My personal opinion, I don't really view Joe Biden as an intellectual, to be honest. I would view Joe Biden more as a statesman. I think Joe Biden is more of like an everyman than most.
Sure.
He,
No, I don't
yeah,
disagree with you. I think what I mean is that the liberal sect or faction of the country, sorry, I didn't have a better word, um, is more of an intellectually focused section of the country, whereas the right, I think, is more in dire straits and sick of the system as a whole failing them. And
and
yes, the right
okay.
does
I
fail
do.
them.
I agree with what you're saying. I think one of my criticisms of the left is that it can be very exclusionary. That's why I say, like, with our debate, like, when that's why I personally I love that we have conversations up here versus when you get into like philosophical debate format, it gets very limiting, right? If you haven't gone to school and
Yes,
been trained in that type of debate, well, that eliminates you from the conversation. So I definitely think that's something the left needs to be more cognizant of, or the rhetoric of like everyone on the right is dumb, like, or these types of things. Like it is alienating, right?
yes, and it separated me and my family, my parents, from the establishment as a whole for a long, long time. Because just putting one foot in front of the other is more important than fighting for these. And wow, there's no way to say that. To say percentages, I'll say percentages that are less representative of the country as a whole. Let's just say that. You know what I mean? Like the left is more fighting for percentages of the population that are less representative of the country as a whole, or at least they have been. I'm not sure what the statistics would be now. Minorities, LGBTQ. So, and I'm not saying that those
So is it
people
kind
should
of
not be represented because they're wholly underrepresented. I'm not saying
Are
that
you
they
saying
shouldn't
that,
be.
yeah, are you saying that you feel like the left just spends all their time focusing on just a smooth, like a few marginalized communities rather than addressing like the maybe the bigger issues that affect the population as a whole? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes, yes,
cool.
Well,
yes, yes,
like
much.
and the white majority is still the majority in this country. It's projected like 2044, right?
Yes, yes,
The white majority
exactly.
will be lost in so as of it is the true majority as of now in the country.
And it's not just about white, right? It's just about all underrepresented minorities seem to take the rhetoric focus of the left rather than serving the common man as a
Sure.
whole, the underserved. And though I do see there are policies that help the common man from the left. I think unless the left represents a less establishment based position, I feel like it will continue to alienate the majority of the underserved population.
Yeah, you've heard it's a term that's honestly almost always misused, but you've heard the term the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right?
Of course, of course.
Yeah. And what a lot of people misinterpret that as is the people who are the loudest get the most attention. But what it truly is it's saying that when a wheel starts squeaking, that is a sign of a
It's
problem.
broken, right? It's
Right, it's
broken. It needs
broken.
to be fixed.
So you have to, yeah. And so I think that oftentimes and especially when we talk about marginalized communities, and especially when a specific marginalized communities might go against somebody's religious beliefs, if we use that as an example, what comes off is trying to fix an injustice right? You're saying like, oh, there are marginalized people who
Sure.
don't have the same rights as everybody else, and so we have to fix that because that's the goal of our country, right? That everybody has equality. So if there's
Well, it happens a lot with poverty, right? So you
right.
say,
Hold
let's
on.
help with
Let me
poverty,
just finish
and
that
yeah,
real.
go
Let me
ahead.
finish that thought real fast. When you address those inequalities, if you can do so quickly, right? If you can do so without a big outcry, then you can move on to the next thing. I think what for me on the left, even coming from the right, I think the right often misidentifies us trying to fix an injustice with us directly attacking you, right? So oftentimes when the left, for example, and it probably goes both ways, I could probably think of an example, but oftentimes, for example, like if we just use gay marriage, a lot of people on the right took that as an attack, but it wasn't. It was just saying, even from a legal perspective, it's saying, look, if you can sign a contract with somebody that you guys now share in this, you're legally protected, you can have life insurance with each other, you can have the benefits of cohabitation, you can have the benefits of tax write-offs, you can have the benefits of child tax credits, right? Like all the protection given to you by being married, that should be given to everybody. So for us, it's like, oh, that's a rights thing. But then the right turned around and were like, oh, this is an attack on marriage. And I think that oftentimes that type of messaging is what leaves us stuck in the middle, without being able to find commonplace. Because I'm not gay.
Okay.
I likely will never be gay married. I don't really have a dog in the fight, but I recognize that like my rights should be everybody else's rights. Where I don't see sometimes the victimization side of the right, where they're like, this is an attack on us. Because it wasn't. It didn't change anything. You can still be married. Even the church I was in, you still can't go to a Mormon temple and get married there if you're gay. You just can't. You cannot do that. It's part of the rules. So it didn't hurt. It didn't take away anybody's rights. It didn't take away anybody's religious beliefs. All it did was basically say to some religious people like, hey, you can have these beliefs, but they're not just going to be the law. And that didn't feel like an attack to me. To me, that felt like equality that kind of bothered some people because of things that they believed.
Sure,
Well,
I understand.
I want to say though, I feel like this is my take that you're everyone's feeling scarcity, right? And I'm talking about economic scarcity, and equality. So I feel like from the far right, we're hearing a lot of people say something's wrong, something is wrong, the system is broken, and we need to change it. But the question, and I always say to people who are saying that, you're right, something is wrong, but it's just more of the question of what is wrong. I think the culture wars, when we talk about the LGBTQ, whose bathroom is everyone in, and all of these things are a distraction. Is your name, do you want me to call you Duster or Dust? What do you want me to call you?
Dusty is fine.
Dusty. Okay. Okay, Dusty. So the real question is they want us to focus on these culture wars, fight about culture wars, but the real truth is we're all being robbed, right? By the same people. We're feeling economic scarcity. Our system's broken. We're going to jobs that are basically a dictatorship. We don't have votes. We're not sharing in the profits, and we're all being robbed and feeling that like something's wrong. Gas prices are too high. My buying power as a consumer is getting less and less. Like I can't take care of my family. All of these are issues, and we are feeling them across the political spectrum. And that's why my message is with Republicans is we have to all be able to agree on some things, which is the economic system, right? Not to blame Trump for it, not to blame Biden. It's capitalism, right?
It is. It is.
Yeah, we're all
You
being
just
screwed by
spoke my
capitalism.
language. Wow, that was amazing.
Thanks,
Yes,
Dusty. See, we
absolutely.
agree on things.
100%. I think that the system as a whole is serving capitalism now probably more than ever. And I think that's really what is disenfranchising a lot of voters. And so to not be focused on that, I think is where you leave a lot of voters behind on
And
both
that's what they
sides.
want. Yeah, and that's what they want us to be doing, right? Is us arguing back and forth about gay marriage and who's in what bathroom. All the while, they're still taking all of our money, right?
Yeah.
Consolidating all these profits, not paying taxes, right? And they're like, "You guys fight amongst yourselves, fight, have the culture wars, and don't notice us up here robbing you blind." And that's what we have to get away from. Is we need to recognize we are all being robbed by the same people.
Okay. I agree. That
Yeah, I
is
think
true.
one. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, in that I was just going to point it back to you quick, RTP, and like I really do think that like poverty and the economic gaps are where most voters are situationally focused. So that yeah, instead of LGBTQ rights or marriage rights, which I do think needs to be, a law thing, not necessarily a religious thing. Yeah, I do think that that's more of the focus is the economic gap.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of my frustration stems from. Is somebody who's like, I've owned businesses, I've worked in this system, I grew up as a conservative, I understood like the rhetoric behind lowering taxes and free markets, and I'm looking at this, and this is why I think the divide exists, is because the system that we're in doesn't work. But in order to change that, we have to do things that look like socialism. We have to. There's no other option. There's no cutting, there's no deregulation, none of that works, and everybody knows it. Which is why when Republicans get in office, they don't really ever deregulate like anything significant. It's always small things because they understand that total deregulation would collapse our economy. So the frustration I think I have is that Republicans have been able to tie this messaging around all these grievances that we're coming after your kids, the southern border, the war in Ukraine, the war in Israel. They've been able to use all these as distractions, while meanwhile they're advocating everything that they're advocating actually doing is just to come in and make it easier for rich people to get rich. And so for me, like the frustration for me every day is not to say like you should be a socialist or you should be a Democrat or you should be a communist like Felice who just wants to burn down the whole structure and live in small little villages and raise our own goats. That's all Felice wants. Don't let her tell you otherwise. That's who she is. But that's the problem for me is that for me, for my daughter, for my parents, for my family, for everybody I know, the outlook for everyone is worse right now. The outlook of like our future is worse. Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. Republicans aren't going to do anything to address that. The cost of living is skyrocketing. Republicans aren't going to do anything to address that other than give more money to corporations. And eventually, once corporations have extracted all the wealth and they're running everything, then what? Then what do
Sir,
we do? Then we become, then once all the wealth has been extracted and we have like this serf class where we're all, and we're getting there, by the way, with the billionaires, once that happens, well, then we've got to figure out a new place to extract wealth from. It doesn't just end there, right? That's bad enough. It's already bad enough that everybody will have all the money and we'll just be working for peanuts. But then we've got to figure out a way to go get more wealth. So then what do? We go north to Canada, we go south to Mexico, we might go overseas, and you start to see the expansion. This is why these countries like Vladimir Putin isn't expanding into Ukraine because Vladimir Putin has this idea that he wants to run the world. He wants to expand into Ukraine because he desperately needs it because they're kind of fucked in Russia. The people are really, really poor, and the rich are really, really rich. So he fights a war not only as a distraction, but also to stimulate the economy. And he also tries to get into Ukraine and get some of those resources, get access to certain other countries, get accesses to port. This is a byproduct of privatizing basically all of the wealth and into like 10 to 20 people. And that's what happened in Russia. Russia basically gave half the wealth of every country to a few oligarchs, and they once they had half the wealth, they're like, I need more than half the wealth. So then they went in and they bought up the public wealth as well, and they bought up all those shares. So now they own everything, and now they
so
have.
can
No, go
you
ahead.
can you explain to me how the left can position us in a better space to deal with that?
Yeah. So the first thing we can do, number one, most important thing is getting us all on the same healthcare plan. You can call it universal healthcare, you can call it Medicare for all, you can call it whatever you want. But we all need to be on the same healthcare plan. Even if it's a private healthcare plan, whatever. We all need to be on the same healthcare plan. That gives us, the American public, the true ability to negotiate prices. That gives us the true power. So we all need to be together on healthcare, and we all need to pay our bills together, and that will drive costs lower. That will immediately lift people out that are in poverty out of poverty. It'll take the middle class and it will rise them above the level that they're at now. That immediately frees up money for them. Now that it's taxed through our normal taxes, but also taxed on Wall Street and corporations. All that money that's sitting there at the top that they're just holding in wealth, like we bring that back down, and that pays for this. That's $12,000 a year in the pockets of the average American. $12,000 a year.
That's
Right?
the
It's not-
average
it's not
cost
going
of
up.
healthcare, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, I see
So
that.
for everybody that's hurting, for like imagine the family that's making $80,000, like in Phoenix. You make 80 grand a year, you have 2 kids here, you're barely scraping by. And you're paying $12,000 to $15,000 a year because you're in that tax bracket for your health care. Right?
Yeah.
You
Medical
wouldn't be-
bankruptcy, number one form of bankruptcy.
You
We're
don't pay-
all one illness away from being bankrupt.
Right. You don't pay that. You don't pay that anymore. And then you start to look at how maybe what we do with education. Maybe we start spending our money on education instead. Maybe everybody gets a good education, and that way, when they go into their adult life, they might be able to run a business. Hell, maybe you incentivize co-ops. You could literally. We talked about this the other day with David. Like if Amazon went away. Well, if right now all the employees at Amazon said, "Hey, we're all going to quit," unless you let us share in the ownership here, like our means of production, we now get to share in the profits. Well, if Jeff Bezos is like, I'm not doing that, great, Jeff Bezos leaves. All the components of Amazon are still there. The infrastructure, the people, the know-how, the knowledge, the software, all of that still exists. All of that could have existed without Jeff Bezos. The lie is that capitalism gave us this, right?
Sure.
So it would be nice if you went to a job every day knowing that you share in those profits.
Here's a connection that I'd like to make that maybe hasn't been made yet in this conversation. The left is majority urban voters, and urban areas are hyper capitalist areas in this country. And so how do you suppose that the left, representing urban voters, which are hyper-capitalist areas, are going to move us away from capitalism when the right is more community-based, lean on the neighbor?
That's such a good point.
Yeah,
That's an incredible.
I don't understand how that could happen. So, is there any way that makes any sense to you?
Yeah, join us, right? It's you. We need you. So you're right that in most of these areas, like they are heavily capitalist, and the richest corporations in all these areas, these are the people we're talking about. Like when we talk about the billionaire class, we're not talking about like Tuscaloosa, Alabama, right? It's San Francisco, it's New York, it's L.A., it's Seattle, it's Dallas, it's all these big cities, right? That's where. So you're right. You identify that correctly. But what people sometimes don't realize is that these cities are also full of people who are like, it's not right. It's still not right.
So
right? They're still like, so.
Why
real
wouldn't
quick,
you join us?
Well, and this is why, because what you're advocating strips the power from us and gives it to the billionaires. We need more power. See, when you work in rural,
explain why you need. It's kind of like a 50-50, isn't it?
Okay.
Right now, there's independent. It's like a third, right? Independent, right, and left. It's all about a third, give or take.
Roughly,
right?
Yeah. But let's
so
just compare
if you
urban.
joined us out here, how would you?
Where do you live?
Tap
Where do you
into
live,
our
Dusty?
power?
Yeah, where do you live?
Rural Minnesota.
Okay, farming community.
Yes.
What? Okay, what kind of farming?
A lot of corn, soybean, that type of stuff.
Okay, and there's
soybean, and cows, horses.
Are a lot of
like
those
that.
corporate owned, or are those mostly like privately owned?
Private.
farms?
These are just my neighbor owns a bunch of horses. My neighbor owns a big hay field. My neighbor owns a cornfield.
Farmers are some of the first co-opers, right?
Right.
Is socialism.
And
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
That's kind of where.
Why not
That's
come out here and farm for us and
So
and
just-
not. Listen, I'll turn left.
Hold on, real quick. Hold on, real quick. This is exactly what I was getting at. The difference between the corruption you're seeing in these big liberal towns where the CEOs are making all the money and where you're at, where things seem like, oh, this makes sense. The difference is capital, right? It's capitalism.
Yeah,
Capitalism takes
sure.
place. Where there is capital, there is capitalism. Where you live, there's not a lot of capital. It's people working and paying their bills. And when they need help, they likely turn to their neighbors and say, here's what I can pay you. And because they're neighbors, they're also likely not to try and rip them off, and they don't have a bunch of other options, right?
Yeah, but that's the problem.
The absence of capital is why you have the system where you live that you enjoy. The capital that is centralized in these small areas, that's the problem. Now
So if
your
we give
community
more
yeah, your
power to the
community.
left, then the city just gets bigger,
No, no,
right?
no,
Why not?
no,
Why not
no, it
give more
doesn't. No,
power?
it doesn't. Wait, hold on. No, it
Or I'm
doesn't.
sorry, give more
It
power to
actually
the urban
it protects.
centers.
So it protects you. Now imagine your neighbor. You have a neighbor that has a big farm. At the end of your neighbor's life, or when they want to retire, they have kids that don't want to take over the farm. Well, then a corporation
Sure.
comes in, and a corporation is likely the one that's going to buy that farm.
It
Nobody
just
else.
gets subdivided and then developed
Bingo.
into houses.
Bingo.
Yes.
So by joining the people who are saying give the workers more, it's the pro union side, it's the pro worker side. If you advocate that the workers even in these big cities have more options and that they share in the profits, that also protects your small communities.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that. I see that. That's a good point.
I
Well,
think it's just a misconception that the rhetoric used during election time is different than the dark money corporations, right, that are lobbying Republicans. Republican, I mean, do you see that? The progressive left is pro worker, pro union.
I mean,
That's the
DFL, right?
left.
Democratic Farmer Laborer, right? DFL, right?
Yeah, my
Democrat.
grandfather was a farmer in Minnesota. He voted Democrat, but I think
It's
yeah,
changed. It's just
yeah, it's
recently
changed.
changed. It's all red now. These farms are all red. I'm not, I voted for both sides. I'm kind of hesitant here. I'm not sure where to go
Well,
because I don't
well,
want to
I think you
empower the
identified it.
capitalist urban areas, and I don't want to also empower these hyper rhetorical red people out here either.
But
Like
I think you correctly identified it. I think what you've done, like the messaging from the right, is that these cities who are overrun by crony capitalism and are having their problems, that the reason they are like that is because of socialists, like left-leaning socialists. And it's not true. Like, are there left-leaning socialists there? Yes, but what is the system that is propagating like all of the harm? It's capitalism.
sure,
If you strip away the people and how they vote, just take that away and look at what the actual problem is. It's actually capitalism, unchecked, unregulated capitalism. I'm not advocating that you get rid of capitalism, but like the reason I think a lot of these farmers have gone right is because they've been convinced that that left means big city, that your whole life changes. It means big city, it means all these changes, and right means like you have farmers. But it's great messaging, it's not helping you. Farmers are
sure.
heavily subsidized by the government. We already have to subsidize farmers as it is, right? Because
Yeah,
of
well,
capitalism,
we
because of
do it
cheap
we do
labor,
it
because
small
these
out here.
these corporations can go buy up every family farm, right? They go and they
They
corner the
can, yeah.
market. And then they put in their additives and they strip it down and they make it into corn, for example, turning it into high fructose corn syrup. Like this is all capitalism
Right.
because they have to continue to improve their profits year by year, and the only way to really do that is to squash out people like that live in your town. They're
Sure,
coming
like
for
me,
you.
like me.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I get
yeah.
it.
They're coming
I
for
get
you.
it.
The capitalists are
I'm
coming for
not
you. It's
down
not the
with free
Republicans or
capitalists.
Democrats.
No, I'm not down with free capitalists. Like we got to keep things more like realistic, practical, spread out a little bit, not hyper capitalist. I totally agree with that. And I just have a hard time seeing that representation from hyper capitalist areas is going to serve us out here.
Yeah, I think you just need to disconnect the policy from the voter there. Like the voters aren't voting in the tax breaks that these people are getting. The voters didn't vote in the businesses. The businesses, San Francisco specifically, if you look at the history of that, most of the reason that those businesses showed up there is because California was really, really friendly to them. They lowered their taxes. They made it really easy for them to get there and to start their businesses there. It helped that like in San Francisco, you already had like an economy that was looking for a transition as they were moving away from like the ports and the docks. You wanted people that didn't necessarily want to move, but
Sure.
that was drying up a little bit. So California said, all right, well, in order to attract businesses, we've got to lower taxes down here. So that's initially why those businesses got there. It was because of lower taxes. And now you're seeing their exodus is because they're leaving because the taxes are too high.
Well,
Right?
we had a huge
They're moving to
exodus.
red states.
Yes, we
And
had a huge exodus out to these
yeah.
areas from the cities
Well, look at the
recently. Yeah.
business, just the businesses, not even just the workers that are going to move somewhere else, just the businesses. You can look at the exodus from Silicon Valley to the Silicon Slopes in Salt Lake City, and you see immediately as this happened that the housing crisis in Utah got worse, wealth
Yeah.
disparity got worse, homelessness got worse. Every one of those indicators that they thought were left-leaning policies, as soon as the capitalists came to Utah, they had all these problems. The
Ah,
capitalist is as right-leaning as you can be. It wasn't left. It really wasn't left versus
sure.
right. It's capitalist. It does its intent is to eat everything in front of it. So if you're going to, at least if we're going to live in capitalist, we have to prevent it from just like eating everything in front of it and running it
I
all
agree.
over.
I
Yeah.
agree. There's
And
this
Republicans want
perception
to
out here.
deregulate, right?
They
Republicans
do.
want,
They want to make
yeah.
it easier for small businesses to go grow into big businesses and eat other businesses and get richer and happier. And that's the message, right? And you see out here, there's this message where if you open your own business, like, oh, you move to a new echelon of class of people, and that somehow gives you higher standing in your community because you can inject more capital or power or what influence into your community. But I don't understand how the disconnect isn't more apparent. Like it is destroying the more community-based system out here when you lift up like the small business that is more focused on capital than serving the community. And so, yeah, there are a lot of issues that I have with both sides. I don't,
Yes.
I think that
It's it's
it's
misidentified
hard to
sometimes.
disconnect it.
It's eat the rich or let the rich eat you, right? In capitalism, that's where you're at, and you're
Yeah,
constantly
just
trying.
file bankruptcy. Yeah,
Yeah, and if you want to stay within a capitalist society, then you have to be really quick to recognize when it's gone too far, when the rich are eating everybody else. And right now is a time period in our country where the rich are eating. They're eating up everything. And so now is the time for us collectively to come together and be like, no, the rich doesn't get to eat this. The rich doesn't get to just have everything. But they've convinced millions and millions of people that this is what we need. This is going to work for us, even though we're seeing it doesn't work. And what they're doing is they're hiding behind like leftist ideology and leftist big cities and trying to scare you into believing that that was the actual problem. When the truth is, it's just the rich want to get richer. That's what they do. And in order to get richer, they'll run over anybody in their way.
Yeah, it's about the privatized profit. Like, that's the point. It's about the few making a bunch of money. And that's why co-ops, like farming is such a good example, right? Farmers have worked together for decades upon decades and shared in the profits. And also were democratic about it, right? Everyone had a
yes.
vote in farming co-ops. And that's what we need to see. Like, it can't just be about more profits for the few, for the shareholders, because it's eating us all alive.
Can you guys also see that like an overdevelopment of areas like this may be an issue?
Can
Like
you explain? Can you ask that a little differently?
well, cities growing and expanding
Urban
into,
sprawl, yeah.
yes, urban sprawl, exactly. Do you see where that may also be a threat to the communist or socialist areas systems kind of that exist now, like community-based systems that exist now? You look confused, sir. Are you
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah,
confused?
I'm not sure what you're asking. Yeah, I'm
Talking
sorry.
about
I'm not.
overdevelopment, like, commercial real estate companies coming in, buying up land and developing it, like gentrification, essentially. Like you're
Sure. Yeah.
taking cheaper land, more affordable areas and housing, and you're essentially pushing those people out, buying it on the cheap, redeveloping it.
Yeah,
And yeah.
yeah, no,
That's happening
definitely.
in our area right now.
Yeah, I
We
was
have
reading. Oh, go ahead.
we have a lot of farms here, and they're they're being taken by small local developers. They're being hyper subdivided and plop tons of houses on. Then paved roads are being shoved in, and districts are being drawn around the towns and cutting out the rural people. And there's I think urban sprawl is another issue that I have. Um, that I tend to tie to the left, though I'm not.
Yeah,
I
so
doubt it. I
yeah,
doubt it
so
now after
I
this
covered.
conversation.
Yeah, I covered this actually to start the show. I was reading about the housing problems that we have, and one of the I don't remember which brokerage it was here in Phoenix. They were explaining that for people who want to buy a house now, they have to go outside of the suburbs because of affordability. Now, you'll see inside the city, that's going to be where it's most expensive, right? It's most expensive because that's where everybody wants to be because that's where work is. Housing is limited, so it drives the price of housing up, right? And if people make
Sure.
more, and if people are making more money, specifically those one percenters, so specifically the richest of the rich, they'll drive up the property values in the city. Well, then that means like the next tier, they're going to move just a little outside of the city, and it drives up the cost there. And then that's going to make people go a little further outside of the city. All of this push out more rural is more of it's because people like of wealth disparity, excuse me. The further out
Sure.
you live in every metropolitan city, generally like the median income drops as you go further out. So yeah, like if you had, let's say you're a teacher in San Francisco and you've been renting and you have maybe a spouse that's also a teacher, and before you could make it just outside the city, you could rent your apartment, but now rates have gone too far, and now you're moving further and further and further out, and now you have to use up more of your resources to get from your home to school because now you have to pay for gas. You're losing less of your life because of the commute. Like you're losing freedom, all for what reason? For capitalism, right? Because if the rich didn't get that much richer, the housing disparity prices wouldn't be where they're at. You wouldn't have 30, 40, 50 million dollar houses. You wouldn't have penthouse suites that cost 25 million dollars. The only reason those exist is because there is such a disparity of wealth. That disparity doesn't exist if you cap the earnings at the top, right? It compacts our housing, and you don't have these wild
Yeah,
variants, right? So yeah,
I
you have
agree.
to you have to
Yeah.
tax you have to tax you have to pull that wealth back down. You have to make it so that those penthouses, that those houses, or even just a generic house in San. My mom's had a house in San Francisco, in San Mateo. She sold it, I think, 2 years ago. They bought it, I think, in the '80s for like $200,000.
Oh,
It
she
was
made a profit there.
I'm gonna say
14,
she must have made a big profit, San
14, yeah,
Mateo.
1,400 square feet, two bedroom, two bath,
A tiny place.
2.1 million.
Woo.
Right? That only exists because there are tech billionaires, and then followed by tech multimillionaires, followed by tech millionaires. Like the millionaire class was the top, and you didn't have this gap. But then it created all these other gaps down to, so the middle class no longer is really the middle class, right? There's all these other classes of rich people, and in a big city, there's enough of them that they can push everybody else out.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah, that's capitalism. So I agree with what you're saying. You're correctly identifying that
I
it
like the
is these
capping.
big
I
cities.
like I like that we do need to take more taxes from the hyper rich. I agree with that. I do not represent taxation. All taxation is theft. I think that's silly. I think we all live off of certain aspects of infrastructure, and we all need certain aspects of our lives being tied to outside resources. Okay, so I mean that's just common sense, and I think anybody that says differently is kind of silly. I think it's the difficulty for me is really the desperation in the areas that are red because of the hyper capitalization and how to disconnect the urban area from the hyper capital area, like a representation. I mean, it's just very difficult for me to do that. Um, I mean, and I don't hear it spoken about on the left very much either. Although I do hear some policies come out of the left, I haven't seen anything really. Maybe a little bit with healthcare. Um, I mean, can you point to anything that the left has done to move away from capitalization?
I think what
No.
we
Right.
got a tax, right? Like I think one of the things the right did a really good job of was this false narrative that Biden was hiring 87,000 IRS agents to go after the middle
Yeah.
class and the lower middle class or and the lower classes and tax or and levy more money from us. When in reality,
Hmm.
those what we know about the IRS is for every dollar spent in the IRS, we get six back. It's an amazing investment for us. So we should be investing money in the IRS, but not to tax us, not to go after us, right? What we need to be doing is going after corporations. We need to be able to do high level forensic audits of corporations and getting the revenue
Sure.
that they are not paying. And same with the 1%. We need to close tax loopholes and we need to levy taxes. Like it's crazy to me that where we are seeing socialism like and welfare is with the rich.
Yeah. That is kind of silly, isn't it? Yeah.
Nothing's trickling down, right? Like
No,
we're
No,
there's
not
no
that
trickle.
trickle is
Maybe a
not
little bit of
trickling.
piss on my head, but nothing much else. You know, it's all staying up there with them. Well, damn, I appreciate you guys taking the time to talk with me.
Yeah, brother.
I'll come back next time. I appreciate you. I don't want to take up too much time. Maybe there'll be somebody else in here you can beat on.
Well, thanks for finding the courage. Appreciate it.
I
Yeah.
followed you.
Oh, appreciate that, Felice. Thank you. Catch you later,
Definitely come
Jay.
back and see us. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
You did a great job, police, not going full communist there. I know that was probably really difficult for you.
Would you stop? I think that, like I said, healthcare, when we talk about Medicare for all, that benefits capitalism. We just need to think whether you are, wherever you fall on the ideological spectrum, Medicare for all, us all being able to go to the doctor benefits capitalism, benefits the workforce. We should be healthy. Our children should be able to go to the doctor. Our childcare should be paid for so people can go to work. All of these things would benefit a capitalistic economy.
Yeah, I was thinking about that with like the privatized hospitals that we have. And we have so many privatized hospitals. Just under with universal healthcare, uh, getting rid of the money that comes from these privatized healthcare companies. Like, I wonder how much of that we could really effectively redistribute into paying our doctors and our nurses more, or perhaps creating a better education system that allows people to get into those fields that don't have access to it. That's the part of it that I think a lot of times we leave. There is a whole profit center, and if we wanted to, we could maintain like some of the ways of generating that revenue and funnel it back into our education system. But really, really like getting rid of just the bill payer, the person who just writes a fucking check. Like there's no reason for that industry to exist at all whatsoever. The amount of resources wasted on that industry simply existing um, could go to so many other places.
And I really do think we're all on the same page about this. We have to fund healthcare. We have to fund education. We should be paying for childcare in this company in this country. If you want capitalism to survive, right? We subsidize it
That's
with
like
social programs,
the
just
hell.
like they're doing successfully in Europe.
The childcare thing is brilliant, by the way. How many people do you think might have one of choose to have like a spouse stay at home? One of the spouses stays at home to raise the child,
Oh,
because
so many, because it's
they
yeah.
can't afford help. It does, I've heard it a million times. Well, even if I get a job, all that money I make is just going to go to healthcare, so I might as well stay home. Well, what if you have somebody who like they want that job too? And you can have healthcare for 4 or 5 hours a day, and that's covered so that you can go out and you can produce something like, or maybe you want to stay home. Either way, like, stop making that impossible. Stop. I've had to deal with that myself. You guys all know I have a hard cutoff at 1. The reason I have a hard cutoff at 1 is because my ex also has a job, right? And we have to stagger, and we don't want to pay for our child to go to childcare. Like, it cuts in to everything we're making. So that's why I have a hard cutoff. Then I go and I watch my child for 5 or 6 hours. Like, we've had to co-parent in that way. And if that was removed, if she was just able, if there was some sort of childcare where she could just for 3 or 4 hours a day and we could work during that time, that's a huge benefit to us.
Facts still matter. Yeah, I totally agree. Family dependency on quality childcare is killing capitalism. It is. I mean, and it is. Think how much bigger the workforce would be. And someone said, yeah, there should be daycare at work. I agree. You should be able to go to work and have your child close by as well. A lot of countries in Europe have daycare, at work or nearby your location for that reason.
Well, weren't you saying the other day that that's kind of like, that's what like Google and Facebook were doing too? That
Yeah.
basically they gave you everything you needed there at work so that you could do that?
Yeah, and it's
Except for
in
then you work
service of
15 hours.
capitalism.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what you realize. You realize like, oh, this is so cool. Like, it's going to be so great here. But then you realize it is in service. It's all in service of capitalism. There are no reasons to leave. Like, oh, there's restaurant. Oh, you needed to go to lunch? Nope. There's restaurants here. Oh, you need to go drop off your dry cleaning? Nope. You can drop it off here. I mean, it's all in service of capitalism. You want Americans to be productive workers. Provide them with the programs so that they can focus on work.
Yeah, it's like they'll put out a PR statement, or they'll have some news organization come in and tour their facilities and be like, look how great we are to our workers, and then everybody's like, yay, capitalism, terrific capital. Like, we could have that. We could have that without you having to live there 17 hours a day, right? You know that. You know that we could just have that anyways, even for the people who don't work at Google, for the person who works at like the local bank, that's just a little community bank, you could have that too. But socialism bad. When capitalism does it, when capitalism pays for healthcare, when capitalism pays for childcare, it's great, it's wonderful. But if the government pays for it, then it somehow is evil.
And tech companies turn huge, huge profits. You know what I mean? It's not like these companies can't be profitable. Like, it's in everyone's interest to take care of the American workforce. Like, we're dying younger. They want us to go to work. They want us to start work 5 years earlier, forego an education, and we're already dying younger. I mean, we're working against ourselves, against our own best interest in this country.
And
It makes me wonder what the long-term plan is for capitalism.
Yeah, and by the way, who do you think is going to watch children? Humans, right? Like, you don't think that that's going to generate new businesses? Think of maybe in red states, perhaps where I grew up, where it's a little different now in Utah. But when I grew up, like, the common thread was like, I'm going to get a degree for women. I'll get a degree just in case I don't get married, or so I have something to fall back on. That was the degree, right? Now just imagine if everybody could have a degree. Everybody could go and have their child there with every child could put their child in healthcare. And by the way, imagine if during this transition period, you have these women who never went to college, didn't have a degree, have never entered the workforce, but they've raised children. What are they uniquely able to start a business doing? Taking care of children. And where's that funding going to come from? It's going to come. I wasn't done yet. Hold on one second, Mr. Nice Guy. I know you're coming in hot. I know. Hold on just 1 second. I'll give you a chance. Where's that money going to come from? It's going to come from the government. You're going to have a guaranteed paycheck that's going to come through. Like, that creates all sorts of new businesses. Go ahead, Mr. Nice Guy.
Capitalism is too hard for you. Capitalism.
What's that?
It's too hard. It's not for the weak. To the
Yeah.
left. You get it? Only the strong survive. And
Yeah,
you
that's
sound
why.
very weak.
That's why
You
it's.
sound
That's why
very
it's.
weak right now, my
Yeah, that's
friend.
why. That's why I think it's
You sound
stupid.
very weak and fragile. What do you
Okay.
mean you can't make it
Fair
under
enough.
capitalism? How come I can?
There's
a
I'm making
major
it up.
difference between
Hold on, my
us.
friend. Hold on, my friend.
What are you talking
Hold on, my
about?
friend.
You're
I've
talking to
done.
two very
What's your
successful
net worth?
people.
What's your net worth? What's
It's
your
pretty
net
good.
worth? And we'll figure this out real quick.
It's pretty good, but I don't
Is
base
it? What
my
is
value
it? What
on.
is it? Come on.
I'm
What
not
is
going
it?
to tell you
Talk,
what my
talk
net
to
worth
me.
is.
The amount
Of
of
course you're not.
indoctrination, you
'Cause
don't
you're
even realize
embarrassed.
where
You're
you've gotten
embarrassed
these
of your net worth.
ideas. It's
I'm not
so
embarrassed
sad.
of my net worth.
No,
You're
I'm
embarrassed.
no, I'm sure
You've
your
been
net worth.
brainwashed.
How come you're not at work on a
Why are
Monday?
you
How come you're not at work on
screaming?
a Monday?
Why are you
You're not at work
screaming?
on a Monday?
I
You're
am
not
at
at work
work.
on a Monday?
I am
That's
at
what
work.
we're
Yeah, you
doing
work.
right now.
You're on every fucking day, buddy. You're never
This is
at work.
yeah.
When
This
do
is
you
my
work?
yeah. This is my job, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. See, this is the problem with society, why it's declining, because you got morons like you thinking that this is a job.
It is a job. I get paid
That's
to do
what
it.
See that?
capitalism is about. Privatized profit.
you're begging,
However you
begging
make
for,
privatized profit
begging for
is a
pennies on
job.
the internet is not a job. Begging
Why
for
not?
pennies on the
Why?
internet is not a job. That's
Why not?
panhandling.
What do you do?
That's internet
What do you do?
paying and cyber
What do you
begging.
do? What do you do?
Yes.
What do you
Listen,
do?
host.
What do you
I've
do?
destroyed you many
What do
times
you
on
do?
immigration.
I'm muting you. What do you do for work? All right, guys. I guess we're potato hunting today. What do you do for work?
Of course you're gonna mute
What do you
me.
do for work?
Only the left
What do you do for
censor.
work?
Why don't you come to
What
my
do
live?
you
I
do for
won't
work?
mute
I'm
you.
just asking
I
you.
won't
Hey, calm
mute
down.
you if you come to my
Chief,
live, I promise.
Chief, calm down. I don't know who you are. What do you do for
I
work?
flip homes for a living. I flip homes.
Okay,
I flip
okay.
homes.
So let's talk
What do you
about
do?
that.
What do
Well,
you do?
actually-
Yeah, what do you do? What do you do?
Hey, Mr. Nice Guy.
What do you do?
Do you know who
You were
Homefester
talking
is?
like a real estate broker.
Hey,
Do you
Mr.
have
Nice
your
Guy.
broker's license?
Hey, Mr.
Are you
hold
in
on.
real estate?
Are you
Are
gonna
you
let
in
me
real
finish?
estate?
Yes.
No. Are you gonna answer my fucking questions?
I just
Sir,
said yes.
calm down. Just
just
calm
said
You
yes.
down.
answered one question yet.
I just
Calm
did.
down.
Answer the
You're gonna
fucking
have an
question.
aneurysm. We don't
I
want
just
you
did.
to have an
Answer the
aneurysm
question,
on the
you
show. It could be
softies.
traumatic for
Answer
people.
the question. Are you in
Okay.
real estate? Because you were giving
Yes.
everybody real estate advice. before.
Yes! I am in real
Okay,
estate.
Okay. What's your what brokerage are you from?
I'm not a broker.
Okay, so you're not in real estate. What are you?
I own a Homevester franchise.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay, good. But you're
Okay,
anti.
good.
Why
Yeah.
would you-
Oh,
hold
shit.
on.
The exact
Hold
same
on.
thing
Why
you
would
do?
you be in
Oh,
real
shit. The
estate
same thing
if
you
the
do?
left doesn't like
Oh,
people that
the
own
same thing
homes?
you do?
Why?
I do the same thing you
Why?
do.
But why? You don't support landlords. You don't support the
Correct.
person.
I'm not a
doing that.
landlord. I'm not a landlord.
I know you're not, because you're anti-capitalism and you're
I'm not anti-capitalism.
You want everybody
I'm actually not
equally poor.
anti-capitalism, my guy.
You want
Hey,
Calm down, brother.
Mr. Nice Guy, if you let me tell you something. It's intelligent
everybody
to
equally
critique
poor.
the economic system in which we live. When you stop
No, it's
questioning
not,
things,
because
that's the end of rational thought and of forward progress.
The thing is,
Yes,
I don't
it is.
blame
We
capitalism.
absolutely
I don't blame
should critique
How
the
come I
system
don't blame
in which we
capitalism?
live. You
How
should be
come I don't
critically
blame
thinking
capitalism?
why? How does
come
this
I
make
don't-
sense?
Brother,
Just-
look, I don't know if you've ever had a conversation before, but this doesn't go anywhere if you're just going to shout while we talk. Like we just spent 40 minutes with that guy. I don't know why you're so in your feelings, but if you want to have a conversation and wait till other people finish talking, that's
I'm
great.
trying
But if you
to.
don't,
You're
we'll
not
just drop
answering
you.
my
Well, you're
question.
you're
You're
literally you see
deflecting,
you're literally
motherfucker.
see what
You're
wait,
deflecting.
hey brother,
deflecting.
I'm not hearing your
Deflecting,
I'm not
deflecting,
hearing
deflecting.
oh my god. I'm not hearing your questions because you only talk when I'm talking.
Okay. All
So
right.
what
you
is your
ready?
question?
We'll
Just
slow
ask
it
a
down
question
for
and
you
then
because
stop speaking, and we'll answer you.
I know. Let me speak now. I know with all your nonsense. How come I don't blame capitalism for my failures in life? Only
I
you
haven't
do.
blamed
Only the
I
left
haven't blamed I haven't blamed capitalism
You
for any of my
you were
failures.
going on a rant for an hour about capitalism, how it's so bad.
I was critiquing the problems with capitalism,
Right,
and what I
right.
and what I
don't
said is
critique
wait,
capitalism. Why don't
hold
I
on.
critique it?
Well, I don't think you understand what capitalism is.
No, I don't. It's a free
What
market,
is
you
it?
idiot.
I think
It's
you
a
don't
free
critique
No,
it
it's
because
not.
critical
Wait,
thinking is
hold on.
not something
Wait on,
you
hold on,
engage
Mr.
in
Nice Guy.
regularly.
It is not a free market. That's not what
Drop your
capitalism is.
lawyer over here. Who's that? Your fucking lawyer? She's got an answer for you? You're a
Shut the
tough
fuck
guy,
up.
no?
Shut
now
up.
you got a lawyer answering
Shut
for
the
you?
fuck
Have
up,
a one-on-one with me.
Okay,
have a one-on-one. Drop
I'm
this
talking
idiot.
to you right now, you
No,
potato.
you're not. Drop her. She's going to interrupt me again.
She stays
like
here.
you are.
She's more well liked than
I
you.
know. She's your lawyer. I know. You
Okay,
need a safe space.
okay, she
I
won't
know,
say
you need a
she
safe
won't
space.
say anything, okay, sweetheart?
all right,
She's
go
not
ahead.
going to say anything, okay, sweetheart?
Go ahead.
She's
So
going to stay up
why
there. I
are
know
you-
women
why are
speaking
you in
really
real
fucks you
estate?
up. What's
Why
that?
are you in real estate if you hate capitalism?
I don't hate capitalism.
Yes, you do. You said
I just
it's
said
terrible.
no, I don't.
No, you don't?
I've done very well in capitalism. I don't hate capitalism.
Oh, Now you're doing well in capitalism, but you want.
I've done
but
well in
before you
capitalism,
said you
yeah.
wanted socialism. That it's so bad that the Republicans don't want socialism, right?
Right. No,
Isn't that what you said?
what I said is, and if you let me finish this, what I said is the policies that I advocate for, the right won't vote for because they've been told that means socialism, and they're afraid that everything is socialism.
It's mind-boggling how someone
Did you
that
hear
is
what I
on the
said?
left.
Did you hear what I said?
Yeah, I heard
Okay,
that.
respond to what I
I
said
heard
then.
you loud and clear. You don't have to repeat yourself.
Okay, what did I say? What did I say? What did I just say?
I don't know. What
Yeah,
did you
see,
say?
this is the problem. You don't listen. You're just angry.
You say
I'll
you're-
say it again. Do you want me to say it again? Do you want me to say it again? Do you want me to say it again? Wait, you just said you don't know what I'm saying, and now you do? Hold on.
The biggest
Hold on, sweetheart. Sweetheart,
Now
hold
you're the
on.
biggest
Sweetheart, hold
capitalist?
on one second. Sweetheart, hold on real fast. Sweetheart,
Buddy, just
sweetheart,
take another
what did I
L.
say?
Take another
Sweetheart.
L. Take another L on your own
Sweet-
show.
Sweetheart.
I gotta go to work,
sweetheart.
buddy. Unlike you, I don't beg for gifts.
Sweetheart.
Have a good day. Enjoy your echo chamber,
Oh,
buddy.
you're a coward, just like
You're
the
a little
rest of them.
bitch.
You're a coward.
You're a little cunt.
You are a coward.
You
I
little
know,
cunt.
sweetheart.
You little cunt.
I know, sweetheart.
You
There it
sound
is. There's
gay.
the
You know you're
rage.
gay. Take
There's
the
the
butt plug out of
fragility.
your
There it is. We
You
got a
squat
runner.
when you pee.
We got a track
squat when you
star.
pee.
We got a
You
runner.
squat.
We got a
You
track
squat when you pee.
star.
I'm right here, buddy.
Rah,
I'm
rah, rah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. You're having a bad day. I'm sorry,
You
sweetheart.
faggot. You
I
little
hope things
faggot.
get better.
You
I
little
think
faggot,
there you go. Just
faggot.
go ahead.
You
Let all these get
faggot.
out so you can get.
You
There we go.
faggot. Yeah, you're faggot.
There we go.
Self-report,
There it is.
self-report.
There it is. There's the Republicans. Happens every time. You
is going
ask
on
them a
with that
question
gentleman?
and they turn into homophobic bigots. That's all it takes. Ask him a couple of questions. Here comes the homophobia. Here comes the bigotry. Why? Because he doesn't have any answers. I do the same thing he does. And I hate it. I stopped investing in it a long time ago. I think it's awful. But at least the way that we did it was a little bit more ethical. Do I hate that system? Do I hate capitalism? No. I want it to be, like, if capitalism is going to work, it has to be heavily regulated. That's always
He's
been my point.
miserable. He's screaming. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? We're talking to somebody who's literally miserable with their own life, probably as a result of capitalism, right? The pressure that's placed on you to succeed. If you're not first, you're last. Like, that is indoctrination due to the economic system that we're living in. Did you guys know that it's okay to not be productive? To just exist? That feeling we get deep down inside when we're just sitting around and we're like, oh, I'm not productive today, I'm a piece of garbage. That's indoctrination. That's a psyops campaign brought to you by capitalism. Like, I feel genuinely awful for that man.
This
Like-
was, you and I have talked about this offline, and this was my day yesterday, and even Saturday. That is so hardwired into me. That idea
Me
that
too.
like you are productive, and I've always I've kind of virtually worked for myself. That's how, like, I just have a hard time working for others. So serially, like, I've been an entrepreneur. That's what I do. But yesterday was one of the, like, it was so hard for me. And I'll be really, really, like, transparent about this. I had to have more conversations with myself yesterday than ever before. Simply just saying, like, dude, it's okay not to go on Discord and like every single comment of somebody saying happy birthday. It's okay to not respond to text messages from friends wanting to do something. It's okay that I didn't put up any TikToks this week. It's okay that I didn't go through and find that video from Guerrilla Radio. And I'm sitting there literally thinking, like, oh my God, I can't believe I haven't done this. I'm such a piece of shit. I'm just sitting here watching TV. And I had that battle all day yesterday. All day yesterday on my birthday, when I can do literally whatever I want. And I had to sit there and battle with the indoctrination of capitalism, saying, like, oh, I should be out getting something done today. And still waking up, having to convince myself that I didn't need to feel guilty about that. Like, it really is okay to do nothing. It is okay to sit outside and stare into nothingness. It's okay to sit down and binge watch an entire series. All of that stuff is okay. All that stuff brought to you by capitalism, by the way, right? And that's so perfectly said. I'm glad you've been around, because Felice does a good job as a friend outside of this, a good job of just, like, understanding that, like, we all intrinsically sometimes do the same things, and we all struggle with the same indoctrination. But that's one of them. This idea, like this, I remember thinking when I first started doing TikTok, like I still have friends that are like, oh, exactly like I said, like, oh, you're just gonna sit on there and argue on TikTok. It's not a real job. Why? Why is it not a real job? I don't. Why is that any different? I work for myself. I only get paid if people like what I say. You know, if I get gifts, if I get subscriptions, if I get donations, it's because people like what I say. It's like the purest form of capitalism, or not capitalism, free market, not capitalism. This is the free market. That's what TikTok is. If you don't like what I have to say, you go to somebody else, right? Like I don't understand how you can even make that accusation, but I operate in free markets. That's how I have to operate. It doesn't work for me to go work for somebody else and be on a team necessarily that way. Like, just how my mind works. I want to understand a market, and I want to be successful in that. But it has to be small, like free markets. That's how I operate. Oh, whoa.
Awesome.
What is that thing? Thanks.
That
Thanks,
was cool.
Joe. That was really cool.
No,
Anyways.
yeah, I think, and our personality types, like, yeah, I was highly successful in capitalism because, right, you're only as good, that's how I was raised, in a very abusive, transactional environment. You're only as good as your last transaction, right?
Right.
And your next one is expected imminently. That's why I was so successful in capitalism, because that's how I was raised, constantly working for that, like one drop of love, that one drop of affection. We all start, families are authoritarian systems, right? We are indoctrinated early into authoritarian capitalistic systems. We all just want praise, to feel valued, to feel seen. That's what we're doing in capitalism. Basically taking what we did for our parents and extrapolating on that with our bosses. It's psychological.
That was deep. That's
Sorry.
kind of deep. I wasn't ready for that one this morning. I
Thanks,
wasn't.
Dusty. The guy we just talked to gave me a heart.
Was that because, that was Dusty.
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking the guy we just talked to. I'm like, what, did he give you heart because you didn't talk? Remember that time when he was mad that a woman was talking?
Oh, yeah, that happens a lot.
But he did say you
Caleb
were
has
the
163 followers. How many followers do you need to get to come up?
200.
Follow. We need some people to follow Caleb 2.0 so he can come up.
Do you know Derek?
A man named
Derek Cage?
I don't know. I don't think so.
You need to meet Derek. It's time. Hey, Derek.
Hello.
We have two commies in one live. Derek is also a commie, Felice.
There we go.
Hi, nice to meet you, Derek.
Nice to meet you as well. I'm trying to do the video as well because there we go. Save. There we go.
Derek, one time, Felice, before your time, Derek co-hosted one of the most infamous lives that I've ever done. I don't remember what we had to do with a certain amount of gifts. We were doing a fundraiser, I think. Is that what it was, Derek?
Yeah, it was a fundraiser for a friend of yours that had cancer, I think.
Something like that. I don't remember exactly which one it was. And we got enough gifts that Derek took his shirt off and then talked about communism for like an hour with his shirt off.
Say, people in the comments, they're calling you McSteamy.
I was about to say, like, after that, the one guy, the Mr. Nice Guy, which I find so ironic, now all of the men are going to leave your live and it's just going to be women left.
Yeah, and bad news, women, Derek, I don't believe very interested in you. Is that still correct? It's been a while. We're okay. It's a little more iffy now. Okay, it's a little more.
Hey, I'm with you. Pansexual, yeah.
An interesting turn of phrase.
Heterosexual loser up here.
Yeah, loser. You never know.
Evolved.
RTV.
I'm unevolved. I get it. You guys are the evolved versions of humans. I'm not there yet. Okay, I'm still unevolved. I'm just down here being a hetero man.
It's okay. In 2023, we're very accepting. We're very supportive of your choice.
Thank you.
I just feel like the last thing that attracts me to someone is their genitals.
That's probably ideal. Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, no, I 100% agree with you. Yeah. Derek, I don't know if you have a
Everything
different
but that.
opinion on that. Maybe that's the number one thing for him. He's like-
It depends. It's a little, it's all mood and chemistry kind of based, depending on what, really gets gets the gears
That's what I
rolling.
said. I'm a sapiosexual. Like, I'm attracted to people's minds. Like, I love to, you know what I mean? What makes people tick.
Well, Derek's job includes a lot of genitals. Derek's full-time job is almost exclusively genitals. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
The amount of times you just put people's business on blast. Tell me.
Now-
He told us on live, yeah.
Yeah. Now an award winning.
You won an award. What'd you
I
win?
did. It's from this magazine. It's kind of like the corn industry magazine for best new star.
Woo! Let me look this up.
So I'm going to be insufferable now, more so than I was before.
Let's see.
But I've really been interested in the conversations you guys have been having. Not to like steer the conversation, but we can get back to communism and
Now Felice is happy. Yeah.
yeah. What I think that Felice, when you said in order for capitalism to succeed, it has to be regulated, and I think you RTP you agreed. That's absolutely, according to Marx, that is absolutely what has to happen, or otherwise, to use Marxist words, is the proletariat will overtake the bourgeoisie and institute probably something even more insane, more intense, rather than just, actually regulating capitalism. That's why the entire idea of a proletariat revolution is something that people should be afraid of. Like, capitalists should be afraid of that. And now that they see income inequality increasing beyond a reasonable doubt, like a proletariat revolution is coming faster and faster. Like,
Do you feel
I
like
agree.
do you feel like commies like Felice, dirty commies like Felice? Do you feel like they view the proletariat and the revolution as something that will happen rather than, because I view it as a cautionary tale. Like, if
Well,
you
no,
don't,
it will,
then this
mathematically.
will. Right. If
I
you
think
don't
that
check it, right?
Like, I always point to the real-time example of a group called the Patriotic Millionaires, which are they're a group of millionaires, essentially bourgeoisie, right? Not the billionaires, but lobbying with the progressive Democrats to be taxed, begging to go back to like an Eisenhower tax system where they're being taxed more heavily. And it's because of what you're saying. Like, the writing is on the wall. The proletariat, the middle and lower classes, will rise up. And what we know, and what the Patriotic Millionaires know, I can't remember who I was listening to talk about this, but essentially the billionaires, right? They have private security forces. They have islands. Like, when the French Revolution, the sequel, happens, the billionaires will be able to escape. They'll have somewhere to go. They'll have security forces to protect them. The millionaires are the human shields of the billionaires. They're the ones that people will be able to get to.
Yeah.
And that's why they're saying, hey, let us pay our fair share. We
Yeah.
recognize the inequality, and the deeper it gets, the more danger we are in.
the petty bourgeoisie. If
Petty.
it's not petty like PETTY, it's PETIT.
Oh,
Gotta throw a
I was
little
like,
French in
what?
there.
Petite.
Oh, okay. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't want to pull out my my French accent, because that would have just made everybody go.
Just killed them. No one would survive it.
Died instantly. But yeah, thanks for having me up. I definitely, it's been a minute because my last live got bananaed.
No, you don't say. Not you. Did you get permabanned?
Yeah,
How spicy was it?
it was because they said it was too suggestive.
All right. Well,
Which-
listen. I know you.
I followed you back. I will
Oh, I
be
bet
in
you
the next
did.
one.
I bet you did.
Just need to see what the vibe is.
There's been many calls to have you in the Discord and perhaps do a night. I still want to do a night just discussing the industry, maybe on Discord, because we can't do it on TikTok. So if you're still open to that, that'd be a fun one.
I'm definitely open to that. And I do have a question, because I've been watching a lot of the lives recently. Who is this David guy? Who on earth, and why are we entertaining this man? Why?
my honest. All right, listen. I'm not doing a great job with him anymore. I've essentially given up. Felice has more patience. David brings in people, like he'll bring in some crazies. And so if you're a little slow and you bring up David, some more crazies will follow along. I do feel like it's a little bit of an abusive relationship. I just use him to get others. But Felice just thinks he makes really good points, I think.
So she's gonna come.
It's like almost like a shock jock. No, this is let's do psychological. The one thing I love about Marx is his respect for Freud, and like David is actually, I believe, in terms of ideology, like he's not a conservative, right? He actually has an emotional attachment to Donald Trump, which I believe is Freudian, very much sees his own reflection in Trump, right? He's tall, blonde hair, blue-eyed, like has idolized this man. There's an actual emotional connection that David has to Trump and wants to truly, and I believe on some level believes that Donald Trump has done nothing wrong. David professes that if and when Donald Trump is found guilty, he will renounce him and join the left. I mean, this is an actual event we're planning. So we shall
do we have
see.
this in writing?
I mean, we have it recorded. Over how many times has David said this over and over and over?
All right. So if I in the coming weeks, I'll talk to listen. Our Discord is a mess right now. Somebody needs to hose them down. A lot of people are asking you to speak in French, but would you be willing to? If I'll get you some topic ideas, but would you be willing to do a VC one of these days? All right, I'll get you some topic. Are you
I
still?
would love that. We need to be more sex positive for sure, and to discuss sex work, the sex industry in a positive way. Like I'm very passionate about that, so I think that's a great idea.
And are you still in Utah? You still
I
living in
am.
Utah?
For
You are?
once, I'm home.
Hey, look at you. Oh, this is your house. This is lovely.
Why do all these Utah people flock to you?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I'm not originally from Utah. I'm originally from Alabama.
Derek is an incredible conundrum. He's an incredible conundrum. Came out of Alabama, works in the adult industry, and lives in Utah. He's like, it's just a nice place. It's a perfect place for anybody looking for a job in the adult industry. That Utah is Mecca, I think. Is that right?
Well, no, because Cornhub is bananaed here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't.
I heard about that.
Yeah, so it's like my own industry I can't even access like from home. I have to be in either Vegas or Idaho or Wyoming.
They say don't take your work home with you, so I think that's a good it's a good thing for you. Derek.
Within the state of Utah, you can't go to Cornhub.
No.
I did not even know that.
Yeah.
Well, I know Senator Mike Lee and Josh Hawley of Missouri. Their one contribution to the Senate this year has been a bill to ban corn federally.
Yeah, which my guess is that's a front. That's
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
what is
because
that about?
I was on a live last night where we actually discussed how people that bark the loudest, people that scream the most, like this Mr. Nice Guy, they're the ones that probably have the most to hide.
Exactly, like what Macbeth, or is it Hamlet? Methinks they'll protesteth too much, or the lady
doth protest too much. Methinks,
is
that.
Look at you, love this guy.
Well read, well educated.
Somebody in Discord just said all these Republicans saying, I swear I know this guy from somewhere.
The amount of times that happens where they're like, you look familiar, and I'm like, I bet I do. I bet I do.
I bet I could tell you something about your search history, sir. That's amazing. Okay, well, I'll get in touch because I'm going to lose the Discord here. There's no choice now. Since we last talked, I lost my show to Felice. She runs everything now. I lost my Discord. She runs everything now. There's been a complete mutiny against me, and I'm holding on for dear life. I don't know how much more time I have here on my own TikTok, but soon it will not be mine, and I'm not sure I'll be welcome here. So we may have to do this sooner rather than later. I'm getting run out.
We need more women in charge. That's all
I appreciate
all I gotta say.
I'm
here for it, RTP. We will survive. It'll be totally fine. Women in control will be totally fine.
We'll see. You might. I may not. There may be a violent mutiny at my hands. I will let you. I'll be in touch shortly.
Okay.
we'll schedule something. It's good talking to you again, man. I'm glad
A
you
pleasure
two
to
dirty
meet you,
commies
Derek.
could
Pleasure to meet you as
communize
well.
together.
Are y'all going to have a live tonight or anything? Like, because I would actually love to join whenever David's in, because I've been a comment warrior when he's been on, and I just kind of want to have like a.
Or he will have a lot. He probably will do a live tonight. I'll send you his link.
Send him every time
We go in
David's
his
live.
lives. Yeah, I will.
Whisper will
I
be
go
live.
in there.
Whisper
But
will be
Whisper-
live a little bit later at 3. Do you follow Whisper?
No.
He lives very close to you, and you guys have a lot more in common than you think. Except for he's just a chronic fence sitter on like every issue, like healthcare and. But he'll go live.
Chronic fence sitter.
He's not really. I'm being mean. You'll like him. I'll send you his live when he goes live today. I'll send it to you. And
Okay.
sometimes David shows up there. But hey, if we need to get a conversation with you and David, we can make that happen. Felice can
I
make
would
any of that
love
happen.
that. Yeah, I know David well. I'll make it happen.
Yes. Well, it was a pleasure to talk with y'all again. Great to see you again, RTP. And yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna be up in your neck of woods this week. I don't know how much time I have, but if I have some time when I'm nearby, let's grab a cup of coffee. I'll shoot you a message.
Cool.
All right, dude.
Sounds
Good talking to
good.
you again.
All right, see you.
See it.
I have a question. Barrister, you're here. I wanted to ask Barrister about the Colorado case, the ruling on Trump. Barrister, do you have a couple seconds to come up and just discuss, or let me ask you a couple questions about Trump being on the ballot in Colorado?
If he does, I do have somebody waiting in the box.
Oh, go ahead. No, we
Joey
can-
Boy as well. Well, I need to go. I really have to pee. Can you talk to Joey Boy for a second? And then we'll bring up Barrister right after.
Okay. Hello.
So I was liking what you guys were saying. I just wanted to add something to the conversation. One thing that is interesting to me is that a lot of hardcore right-wing conservatives who are pro-capitalism don't realize, or they forget, is that if you don't support your workers and share the wealth, you don't have a very good workforce. Therefore, you're actually shooting yourself in the foot. There's this old conservative idea, the old school Republicans had this idea that you support the middle class and the working class, and that actually is better for business. And I don't know how that got lost, but there seems to be this sort of battle of rugged individualism where
Rugged individualism, yes,
these
right?
corporate overlords, it's just everyone wants to be a czar and a pharaoh, and they don't understand that.
I think it's the natural shift of the economy from capitalism to late stage capitalism because, like we said, we
Right.
just saw the largest transfer of wealth in history, right? And this money is not being recirculated back into our capitalistic economy. It's just being hoarded at the top. So now we have economic scarcity. And so that's why as late stage capitalism gets worse and worse, money's taken out of circulation. That's why you see the move towards fascism, right? A clampdown. When we
exactly.
go from support the middle class, make us it worth our while, help us succeed in capitalism, help us help our corporate overlords, right? Our capitalistic overlords. And we're shifting from that to now just fascist authoritarian control. Like we are actually going to become more of a slave labor workforce.
Well, we're already there in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
That we are.
I'm a teacher over here in Portland, Oregon, and we're on strike right now. We're on day 13 of our strike, which is unprecedented in Oregon's history. And one of the sticking points is that they haven't given us a real cost of living increase in 20 years. And that's a state issue and a tax issue, but it also just is a microcosmic lens into what's happening all over the country, where highly educated, hardworking people are making less and less comparatively to what things cost. We're getting priced out of the market. People who are younger generations like Gen Y, Gen Z, millennials, they can't afford to buy a house in a city. I mean, these are all things that we should be able to share the wealth, right? We should be able to have these things as Americans, the wealthiest country in the world. And I lean more towards having a little more social programs myself. I mean, capitalism's great for competition and innovation and streamlining things and cutting the fat. All that stuff's good with capitalistic theory, but you got to share the wealth, you know? And that's really my whole point. And the fact that there was, I think, a lot more sharing of the wealth, 30, 40, 50 years ago, where the old conservative guard knew this was important. They knew that they needed to share a little more of the cake, right? And that kept everybody happy and everybody working and people invested. You invested in your workers. You kept them around for 30 years because they had wisdom and they actually saved you money in the long run because they didn't make the same dumb mistakes the new workers made and all this stuff. And so I just wanted to add that to the conversation. That's all.
I 100% agree. And I think with education, Barrister can only be up for a second. So
Let
let's.
Barrister, I know Barrister. Let him in. I'm going to go. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Joey.
Hey, thanks, Joey.
All right.
Hey, Barrister.
Hey guys, how you doing?
I'm a lawyer now, Barrister. Did you see
I heard that you're a lawyer, and I feel bad because I paid a lot of money to go to law school, and you did it just by the hell of it. Just became a lawyer.
A misogynist just named me a lawyer. So that's the other way you can become a lawyer. I wanted to ask you about the Colorado ruling about keeping Trump on the ballot. And if you could kind of explain to me the part where the judge is talking about, well, the president isn't an officer of the United States and the presidential oath doesn't include a part about, do you know, I'm sure you know what I'm speaking of. I can look up the
Yeah, it's kind of a strange ruling, although technically the judge was correct, but I think it was an over technical application of the law.
Basically, let me read it to you. It says, the provision says, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state if they took an oath to support the Constitution and then engaged in insurrection.
Yeah, if you look at Section 3, because she found that he committed insurrection. There was no question about factually he had done everything necessary for a finding of insurrection. But Section 3 of the 14th, I just pulled it up. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress. That wouldn't apply. Or elector of president and vice president. That wouldn't apply. Or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any other state who have previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States. And then it goes on, and the judge says that doesn't cover the president. And the judge said the officer of the United States, that was the one thing that was being argued. And the judge said the president is not an officer. And because Congress could have included the president and the vice president, and the fact that they didn't would mean that they're not part of that provision. And
That's pretty wild, right? They're saying basically only Congress is the only one that can really expel a president, but then they have to be in office. So there's really no, because didn't the judge also say specifically that he did participate in an insurrection? I'm pretty sure the judge specifically said, like, yes, this was an insurrection, but there's not. Basically, they're saying like there seems to be a loophole here. We never included the president with all these people. Like all these people, if they commit an insurrection, they can't be elected, but this person can, because apparently we just didn't add in the president, like we weren't clear enough on the language.
You pretty much hit it right on the nose.
Terrific.
The language is not clearly adding the president and vice president. Now, when you look at the Constitution as a whole, it would be stupid to assume that the only people who can't be kicked out of office because of treason or insurrection are the president and vice president. That's exactly the people you would want to be able to kick out of government if they committed those acts. And so I think there's a lot more to this story than just the technical reading of the 14th. But courts a lot of times, or most of the time, will say we're bound by the law as it's written, and we can't deviate from that. And so That's where I think that's what the judge latched onto and made that decision.
Yeah, it's a lack of precedent, right? Essentially, there's no precedent.
And she said
here.
it's not this court's place to decide, I believe, was the language. So do you think that that's just a punt because it will be in front of the Colorado Supreme Court and maybe that's a better place for this?
Partially. I think that's a good possibility because a lot of times trial courts don't like to make decisions on interpretation of constitutional provisions. So I think you're right in that regard. The other thing is
because this was just about whether or not the Secretary of State had the power to bar him from the ballot, right? That's what this. It wasn't that he can't be barred. It's whether or not the Secretary of State could bar him from the ballot, right?
Well, that plus did he commit insurrection? I mean, that's a necessary prerequisite to that determination.
Right, but they determined he did commit an insurrection,
Correct.
but that the Secretary of State did not have the right to bar him from the ballot.
Well, correct,
right?
correct, because the president is not covered by, even if he did commit insurrection, which the judge found that he did, he can't be removed from office, so the clerk has no right to take him off. So yeah. But the second thing I was going to point out is, like I said, courts, I mean, all the time will argue that, or will say that we're going to find that no matter what, whether it's fair or not, this is what the statute says, and if you want to change the statute, then you're going to need to go to the legislature or the Congress. And so we can't make that decision because we're bound by the clear language of the statute. I've had that happen in a lot of cases. I've argued that I had a case one time where they dismissed my client's claim. They said he would have had to file it before he knew he had a disease, and the way the statute was written. And it's crazy, but that's exactly the way the statute was written. And they said, well, your remedy is to go to the legislature. They said it's a stupid law, but your remedy is not us, it's the legislature.
So do you think that's the same thing when this goes before the Colorado State Supreme Court? Are they going to basically rule the same thing and say like this has to go to the legislature? Or is there anything you've seen that says like the Supreme Court will be able to make a ruling here?
I think there's going to be an intermediate appellate court decision. I think Colorado has an intermediate appellate court. It'll go there and then go to the Colorado Supreme Court. And then I think they'll be more open to looking at the intent rather than just the plain wording of the statute. Because, again, like I said, if you take that position, you're taking the position that everybody but the president and vice president can be removed because of insurrection, and that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So is this a case where like we've found an obvious hole where there is no precedent? Is this the case then where the Supreme Court's like, all right, there's no precedent, but there's are you essentially making the argument to them that this was a blind spot and you need to establish a precedent now? Is that really what they're going to be deciding, is whether or not it's their role to establish a precedent with this? Because, again, they've established he committed an insurrection, right?
Yeah, and keep in mind that on appeal, findings of fact by a trial court, whether it be a jury or a bench trial, findings of fact are binding on the appellate courts. So they can only make a decision whether the legal ruling was correct or not, as applied to those facts. And so when the Colorado Supreme Court decides, they're going to have to decide, well, there was an insurrection, so does this law cover that? And I think you're going to see a more open application of what was the intent. Because one of the other things in statutory interpretation is they won't give credence to the clear language if it ends up in an absurd result or a result that defeats the purposes of the act. And here, saying the president and vice president can engage in overthrowing the government and not be held responsible for it just doesn't make sense. That's an absurd result. That goes against the whole purpose of the 14th. And so I think that has more chance at an appellate level than it does at a trial level.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was listening to Lawrence Tribe, who's like probably one of the foremost liberal constitutional scholars, and then Judge Ludig, who's one of the foremost conservative constitutional scholars, were both saying that intent will come into play when the Colorado Supreme Court hears the case. And they feel, or they agree with the original opinion that was written by the Federalist Society lawyers, that he should not be on the ballot.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it just doesn't make sense. I understand why the judge did it the way they did it, but it just that application just doesn't make sense. Not to
So
me.
what do you think if you were a betting man, what do you think the outcome is with the Supreme Court or the Colorado Supreme Court at least?
I hate to hedge on this, but I got to tell you, if this was a lower level office, if this was like a state legislator or something, I would say probably 70, 80% that they'll find that the insurrection applies to them, even if the language didn't cover them. I think they would apply it because that seems to be the intent. With it being such a political, high level situation, I'm less inclined to say so, but I got to believe that the Colorado Supreme Court will probably find. I would bet. I would bet on the side of them overturning that decision and finding that it does apply, but it's going to be close. I wouldn't bet a whole lot. I'll say that.
Okay. I won't bet a whole lot then.
I always appreciate your legal opinions and what you do on this site.
Well, I appreciate you guys. I enjoy watching you guys, and it's fun seeing the people get tore up, especially Mr. Nice Guy.
Bless his heart.
Yeah.
And a rough go in capitalism.
Yeah, capitalism's a tough go. All right, Barrister, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
All right, you guys.
Everybody, give Barrister a follow if you like good legal analysis. That's your guy right there. Give Barrister a follow. Thanks, Barrister. We've had a really like educational live today so far.
Eclectic, yes. This is how I love it. Gus, that was cool. Whatever gift you just got. Sorry.
What did I get? What did it do?
It was like a gerbil or like a
thanks
some
for the
sort of
gerbil.
rodent was doing something.
It's a groundhog. Oh, it's Gus the groundhog. Oh, okay.
Gus the gerbil. That makes less sense.
This is where we're not cool. This is where Parker's so good. He knows what everything is called. So somebody will send him something. He's like, thanks for the... And he knows the full name. I don't know any of them. They surprise me every single time. Not enough yelling for everybody. Melania's trending today. Should we see why?
Awesome.
What was that?
It was some sort of dragon.
Oh, a Draco. Oh.
Thank you.
Actually, it's all because Trump went to his sister's funeral, and they're talking about it. It's
speaking of untimely passing, or not untimely, I guess that's not true, but Jimmy Carter's wife, Rosalind, passed away. Did you see that?
Yeah, that's what these are all. They're like, one of the tweets is, where is it? Let me find it. History will always remember Rosalind Carter for all the right reasons and Melania Trump for all the wrong ones. So she's basically just getting tagged by all these people, mostly in her "I don't care, do you?"
She was at the
jacket.
funeral, at Trump's sister's funeral, I saw. Because
Yeah.
sometimes I'm wondering, like, if Melania's okay. She's like the wife of the head of Scientology, you know what I mean? She just goes missing for like 6-7 months till someone does a wellness check.
Well, there was stories before he was president, and it's been it's weird how it's not widely circulated. I think it's because it's a right winger, and right wingers are the ones that care like about virtue signaling, these type of things. But like, there's a bunch of people who have said that she has had a boyfriend for years, and he lived at Trump Tower. His name's Hank Seamers. He was a security guard at Tiffany's in Trump Tower. And then he has just basically, when Melania moved to Florida, he moved to Florida. And there has been rumors that she basically just has a boyfriend, but they kind of keep it
Well, because they're
low-key.
married, because then she cannot testify against him. They're probably in a bunch of she's probably tied up in some of the financial stuff. But like, and then it said, like, didn't she renegotiate her prenup like 2 times? Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, she renegotiated her prenup like 2 times. So I think at this point, it's just a contract of, like silence.
Yeah. So that would be sweet. Hopefully she gets half of the nothing that is left at the... I think Trump dies bankrupt or right before. Like, if he loses his money, he looks bad. Have you seen him recently, by the way? He has, for all the times that we got accused of body shaming for Trump, which I felt like maybe we did, but also it was mostly just that he was clearly lying about how much he weighed. That's what it was. But he does appear to have lost a lot of weight very quickly, and there's just no chance it's because he's eating better. There's no chance it's not like he's stopped eating McDonald's every day. So I don't know how he makes it through this. I'm honestly gonna go on record now. I don't think he winds up being the nominee. I really don't. I actually think I think it's more likely now that he won't be the nominee by like 51%. I'm going to call it, it's now slid to 51. This New York case is brutal. This is damning. This cripples it cripples his company, and the precedent that it set, the amount of lies that they've told, like every single person in Trump's circle, his inner circle, has lied repeatedly in this court case, and they are going to be witnesses in other cases. I don't see a way he escapes this, and I think even some of the Republicans, really the nice guy, what was his name again, that lived in Minnesota?
Oh, wait.
Was it Joey? Was it Joey? Joey, yeah. We're starting to hear more and more of these, like, they'll call themselves almost like moderate Trumpers, where even they're starting to say, like, all right, like this is killing us. I hope they don't. I really hope Trump is the nominee, because I would love to see the country be more progressive. But I am a little nervous that Republicans are going to figure this out. They're going to dump Trump, and then Biden's crushed. If the Republicans get rid of Trump, I might immediately become a very vocal proponent of Joe Biden stepping aside. At that point, I think then I'd be forced to be a vocal proponent of Gavin Newsom or Pete Buttigieg or even Kamala. I don't know what her numbers look like, but I would say immediately it probably couldn't be Kamala because she's tied to Joe. But if the Republicans figure that out, we can't run Joe.
Oh, well, I mean, that's what I think what we're talking about with the Colorado case and him being kept, them working on keeping him off the ballot. That is the establishment. That's Leonard Leo, right? Who let the Federalist Society lawyers write that legal opinion. Those were Republicans. And I think that is his goal. And Leonard Leo has such influence. I mean, seated the conservative Supreme Court majority we have now. So that's why I'm saying if that goes to the Supreme Court, the originator of it was the man who seated the conservative Supreme Court. So I've always saw that as the move, them trying to keep him off the ballot. But the question is then who's next? Like, are they just going to let DeSantis be the guy?
No, I think it's clearly Haley. I honestly do. Haley she's like kind of tied in second, but if you look in New Hampshire, Iowa, she's rising. New Hampshire, she has a huge lead over DeSantis. Like, she's good. Haley's going to do well in, purplish states or states that aren't just deep, deep red. I think it's Nikki Haley, and I think she would win. She would kill Joe Biden.
The polls today that came out, I sent you that. Did you watch that video? The first video I sent you?
No.
Of the new Trump-Biden polls?
No. I bet it's the ones I saw, though, where Nikki Haley is.
It's his lowest approval rating yet.
Who was it from?
It's in your text. I can put it in.
Oh.
I believe it was MSNBC or NBC News.
I can pull up my text from my computer. Let me see.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was watching.
It's worth listening to. No, I know. I send you so much stuff.
Yeah, you sent me Jeff bragging about winning a debate. All I know is at the end he would
is declaring a win for himself, and what is a shock to nobody.
All I know is that
has declared himself the winner.
If he won or if he didn't, he would not know. He's the only person. He's probably less clear on what happened in that debate than anybody. Okay, so these are Biden's numbers. That's what you're talking about? Oh, he's getting better. Hey, that was a fun thing.
We'll just play it. You can listen. We can just listen to it. It's interesting.
Party, a pretty strong 2022 midterm. Throughout this year, the news has been rough for Biden in a lot of fronts here, and you see he ends the year 17 points underwater. This, by the way, is the lowest we have measured his job approval rating since he became president. one of the, oh, no, take a look at this by party, too. I think this is important. Among independents, this has been a story this year. His support with them has eroded a little bit, it seems, with each poll. And now, by a more than 2-to-1 margin, independents say they disapprove of the president. But I would say, just as significantly, you look at Republicans, it's not a surprise. The overwhelming, almost unanimous majority disapprove of Biden. Only 7% of Republicans say they approve. However, look at Biden's own party. The disapprove number among Democrats, and this is up since our last poll, which was taken in September, just weeks before the events of October 7th.
21%.
3 times as many Democrats disapprove of Joe Biden's performance as president than Republicans who approve. So Biden has suffered erosion just since our last poll within his own party. And you look for what might be driving some of that erosion. It's this topic where it stands out the most.
Foreign policy is the one that seems to be. I don't know. I guess that's the approval too. That's the problem with Joe Biden. And these polls, we can say that polls don't accurately depict what's going to happen in 2024, which is fair. But you do have to remember that these polls are going to largely be the people who answer polls. And that is like it or not, that's the base of the Democrats. Our base, again, remember, is moderates. We're not like MAGA. Our base is not the fringe. We don't capitulate to the base. We largely ignore our base. So these are base voters that they're talking about. And when you're talking about 21% disapprove of what he's doing, you're talking about big numbers of people who, if you're answering these questions, you also probably vote. And they are probably pretty reflective of how modern Democrats feel. We get that all the time. For the people I know in my life that are independent or moderate Democrat, they don't like him either. And there are some now, the Rappaport thing that What's-His-Face was talking about the other day, like Michael Rappaport's even saying it's on the table. And it's not a reflection of Trump. It's not a reflection of Trump is good. It's a reflection of, like, we don't want this guy anymore. So it is, maybe it's time. I mean, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you transition from Biden. I don't know how, one, you convince Biden to step down, and two, how you make that transition. That's a terrifying thing to even try for Democrats right now to say, we're going to run somebody else, because then what are you going to do? You're kind of admitting defeat. That's how it's going to be spun. But then you look at Biden's numbers, and he's done really, really well. So I don't know how you handle it. I don't know if you can run somebody else without going after Joe Biden. Outside of Joe Biden saying, hey, it's like, I don't have the energy to do this, I need to step down. Outside of that, I don't know that there's a way to transition this. It's got to be Biden stepping up and saying, like, hey, I can't handle this job anymore. I'm too old. And I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a conundrum. It's something to just keep watching. And I think most importantly, we need to stay focused on state legislature. I mean, especially here in Arizona. But yeah, I mean, we're looking at Project 2025, which is not necessarily Trump, right? That's insert Republican president here, brought to you by the Heritage Foundation. So it's fascism or a Democrat, essentially. But yeah, the polls are the polls. It's a little early, but definitely something to watch.
All right. I see Anna G in the box. I'm going to guess not opposition, as her name is our favorite pro-choice leftist aunt. I'm going to guess probably not like a ton of opposition there. Unless you're coming up to talk about maybe you want to take a hard stance on getting rid of Joe Biden. I guess we could find some disagreement there. I don't know if you're there. But again, the theme today is MAGA, can we ask you some questions? And that's what we want to do. We just want to ask you some questions about your beliefs and how you're choosing to vote this upcoming election. And we'll be
and guys,
very
tap
nice.
the screen. Let's tap the screen. Let's get to 175K. Sorry, Jay. Just advocating for you.
They listen to you. This is perfect. Yeah, they're not going to listen to me when I say it. This is great. What else did you send me this morning? I didn't go over anything that you sent me this morning.
We went over we went over quite a few things. I think that's covers it. What is the, there's that crazy Maria Bartiromo clip. She's back on the COVID.
Well,
actually, maybe we shouldn't play.
Can we play? Are you afraid it'll get in trouble? It'll get us in
I mean,
trouble?
it's not anything too crazy.
There was one part I stitched it, but I'll play it.
I mean, is there a chance that China released this virus on America intentionally? Disrupt the country, get Donald Trump out, get your man in there, Joe Biden, and then cover it up.
Well, they certainly didn't try to protect America, did they? I mean, so whether it was intentional or accidental, they seem to be aware of it. And as I recall, and I could be wrong on this, President Xi was telling Donald Trump, everything's okay. And Donald Trump was repeating what President Xi said. Now Democrats call President Trump a liar, but it seems that he was just repeating what President Xi said.
Isn't the criticism of Joe Biden that he is just a puppet of whatever President Xi says? And then the defense for Donald Trump is he was just puppeting what Xi says. I don't understand.
Follow one line of logic all the way through.
Like,
just one. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
David's here, I think.
Oh, God. Hi, David. Do you want to come talk to Felice? I'll send him an invite. Or Derek could talk to him. It's quite a hat. There's a lot of stuff happening on that hat. Felice wanted to talk to you.
I can't see David.
I don't know. Could you turn your mic down, though? We hear whatever's happening in the back. Can you turn your mic down? I hear all the background noise.
Should I go out and come in? I can't see David. It's just...
Oh, nobody can see him at all.
Yeah, if you could see... I can't see him. Or hear him.
Nobody can see or hear him. They're going to get mad. What if our chat, though, has just decided... I got rid of him. Sorry, guys. He wasn't coming up. If we're going to do this, did you have something specific to talk to him about?
Oh, no, if you don't want to, that's fine. I mean,
I don't have anything to say. I don't know. Did you want to talk about something specific?
No, I mean, if you're not feeling it, that's fine.
No, it's fine. I just, I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
Let's, all right, I'll give you a couple minutes, David.
No, it's fine. Okay.
Look, you guys, make some people mad in the comments that want to come up and talk that, because the box is empty.
Trump 2024, baby. That's got to make some people mad.
Here you go.
I'm going to go in my attic, dude, so I'm not noisy.
Your attic?
I'm going to go hide in my
closet. I thought you hung
here.
out in your garage.
I'm in an attic. I'm actually somewhere else right now. I don't like telling people everything I do, but so yeah, I think that what are you guys asking MAGA? You guys are asking MAGA stuff. Ask me anything.
All right,
ask me why I hang at attics.
We can talk about economics. So were you here at the beginning of the live at all? Did you catch any of that?
I did not.
All right, so one of the things we were talking about is that capitalism itself is unchecked, and the reason we're seeing all our problems in the housing industry, the reason we're seeing the moves as people are going further out to the suburbs, the reason that we're having this economic insecurity is due to capitalism. So we were talking about putting checks on capitalism or big safety nets, right? So taxing the rich or incentivizing that money to come down and then providing big safety nets. Now, I know you like universal health care, but you're just not sure. Like, you're kind of on board.
Don't trust
right?
the government.
Right. So the question is, if we all understand that the unchecked capitalism is the problem and you don't trust government, how do we fix it?
Everybody being political and just getting involved, including Democrats and Republicans, and finding the common ground and having both parties work together.
But wouldn't that be government?
Yes, government is us.
So how do you, David, then start trusting the government?
By getting out there, voting, being political, and ousting anybody that's corrupt, left or right, just getting rid of most of the corruption you can, so that way we can start trusting government.
How do we figure out who's corrupt?
I guess a little bit of transparency when things are happening, especially like the president of the United States is calling fraud. Probably the court cases and stuff like that should have probably happened and not waited till they charge them for crimes to get our discovery.
No, so obviously that's literally one person, right? The crimes of that one
Yeah,
person.
only the president,
But how
former
do
president of the United States, just a person though.
how do you decipher whether or not what he did, like, how do you decipher what is fraud, like, for you personally? Because there's two sides to that story, David. Either you're
There
right
is.
or you're wrong, and you're only
Right.
allowing for the part where you're right.
No, that's not true.
Okay, well, if you're wrong, so if he didn't have evidence, you're saying that because he was the
I
president.
didn't. You're saying he doesn't have evidence. I never said he didn't have evidence.
Well, I said there's two
And the court's
sides.
not saying that either.
David,
The court's not saying that either.
David, see, this is what's frustrating talking to you. You got it. Like, can you try your best to have a conversation and not just hear a word and start interjecting? This
Because
is why
you're trying to say there's no
okay.
evidence or something. That's
See,
not true.
see, that's the problem, David. You're just waiting to hear things you disagree with. There's two sides to this. Either he has evidence
is.
or he doesn't, right?
Right.
Okay, so I'm saying if he doesn't have evidence, then the courts, if he doesn't have evidence, then the courts should never have a hearing, right? Because he doesn't have evidence.
I agree.
Okay. So there's a scenario, David, where you've been duped by Trump, and all 60 of those cases meant there was no evidence.
61.
So, 61. Sorry. So then, what I'm asking is, how do you determine that there was no evidence? How do you come to that
you're
conclusion?
determining there wasn't evidence.
No, because
You're-
David,
that's your
there's either
conclusion.
no evidence or there's some evidence. Those are the only two options.
No, yeah. So how I determine that? Let's use Georgia. Once we go into discovery, and the judge decides what he's going to allow in court and what he's not going to allow in court for evidence, it's got to be relevant to the case because it's not an election fraud case.
Right.
So
but but hold on.
So
that
you
wasn't
asked
the
me.
question.
Hold on. You
No,
asked me when. I'm trying
that's
to get
not
to
the
when.
question
When
I'm asking. Hold on.
is
David.
when there's no evidence
David.
in the court.
David,
If
that's not
Donald Trump lies about the 100-page report.
David, I'm cutting you off because that's not the question I'm asking you. I'm asking you because you support him. You believe he will bring evidence out. I'm asking you personally, how do you decide when there is evidence or not?
The transparency through the courts. If Donald Trump presents evidence in this case, and it's just shit for evidence, right? Like he's like hypotheticals out there, and we go through this discovery process, and come to find out it's not the evidence that Donald Trump said it
David,
was.
so all of
That's
these
different.
decisions. So David, all these decisions.
That's
I'm
transparency.
No, David, I'm talking about decisions you've already made, not decisions that you will make on the outcome of the case. I'm saying you fully believe that the election was stolen and that the courts didn't give him a fair shake. I'm asking you how you got there. Like, how did you decide?
Oh, you want to know how
which,
I got there? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it started with that. I guess it started with the Epstein case with Donald Trump and that Jane Doe. And everybody loves to make up their stories about intimidation tactics. Okay, that went away. The mainstream news wasn't talking about it. Why weren't they talking about it? Because they were worried about they were going to get sued for accusations. So they wouldn't talk about it really during the election with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Then it was Russia. Then it was the phone call. So I come to these conclusions.
Okay, but hold
we
on.
See the attack
so let me
on
ask.
Donald Trump.
So now let me ask you some questions about those. You agree that it's the courts that make that decision on whether or not Donald Trump can have a case, right?
Yes.
It's the judge. Okay, and then the two examples that you gave me were the media and the media.
No.
Do you understand
The
how
court.
your justification for believing
No, that's
that
not true. The lawsuit got dropped.
Okay, but what you said is that they dropped it
So
because
you were
they were
wrong.
afraid that you said they dropped it because they were afraid they were going to get sued, right?
No. The media wouldn't talk about it because they're afraid they're going to get sued.
Right. So David, I'm saying you're saying that the reason that you believe the courts are cheating is because there's some stories you don't believe that the media
No,
told
I don't
you
think the court's
differently.
cheating either. I
So
don't
what's
think
the
the court's
why
cheating either.
why is the court not giving him cases then? Why are
So
they saying
I think
why
I
did
think
they
the court,
why did he not win a single case?
So like in Georgia when they talked about the two women, Rudy Freeman and the other lady, they did break procedures, but the judge was not willing to take the case on because they didn't think there was anything substantial of election fraud to overturn the election, so they didn't take the case on.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, so when
then
somebody's
why do you
unalived,
think? So then why
it's
do you
not this.
think?
They don't know
but
who
why
it
do you
is.
think? But why do you
They
think
need
the court did
evidence.
that? Do you think the court did that because there wasn't evidence, or do you think the court did that because they don't like Trump?
I think they did that because the judge didn't believe there was enough at the time from what he presented to prove it.
Okay,
So
so
therefore, the judge wasn't willing to risk democracy over it.
Okay, so then the whole reason for all this, like, you just believe that there's evidence out there that nobody knows. What I'm asking is, why do you
Yes.
believe that there's evidence out there that nobody knows?
Because I've always maintained the same hypothesis here. You would never bring all your cards to the deck. Just like when you charge somebody with a crime, you don't charge them and show them all the evidence until you have to. You have to show the evidence when you have a docketed case and you go through the discovery process and you actually find out what's right and what's wrong. And they can put up their fair defense. I can put them in Georgia. They have to
So this
be notified
was
within
so
10 days.
Donald Trump
of the
has
court
been.
date.
So you're saying that for 3 years, Donald Trump has been withholding his evidence until he got a docketed case.
No, I'm saying that there's been new discoveries. He had a time frame where he could file these court cases. Okay, they kept counting the vote. There's lots of reasons why he didn't have everything right then. Okay, but he has
So
to
why
bring
doesn't he bring
relevance to
why
the
doesn't
new
he bring it
case.
out now?
Because you have to do it in court. You have 10 days. I would never say, hey, Jay, I know all your corruption. Okay, and so you
But
cooperate
he's the
stories, you
defendant,
make
right?
alibis.
So this wouldn't be him
I
making
know.
charges. This would be his defense, right?
In court.
And we're talking
In the
about a
court of
guy,
law.
and
He'll
we're
bring his
talking
evidence, buddy.
and we're talking
David
about
wants
a,
like a Perry Mason moment. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? David thinks that
It's
there's
not a
going to
Perry
be like a
Mason moment,
moment
though.
like on the stand where Trump's like brings in a suitcase and like drops the
You
evidence
guys can make fun
down.
of it like that if you want to. That's not the truth, though.
Well, my question is, have you ever heard of disclosure?
I could barely hear you, Derek.
Have you? You're one of the only ones that's never been able to hear me. Have you ever heard of disclosure
Yes.
in court? So nobody's allowed any surprises. Nobody's allowed to say,
Right.
"Oh, I've all of a sudden got this new information, new evidence." Like
Yep.
that's not allowed.
No.
So
No. 10 days. 10 days in Georgia, my friend. 10 days.
Okay, that be that as it may, when the court is in session, when they are actually having proceedings, no
Right.
one's allowed to just at the at the 10th hour.
Nobody said that.
I have this.
Nobody
new,
said that.
Yes, you are. You're saying that
Well, for
I'm not saying that.
instance, but David, you did say like the reason that Rudy Giuliani didn't have any discovery evidence for the civil trial that he was just a judgment was entered against him was because that Trump's saving it all.
No, okay, so what I said about Rudy Giuliani is you can say anything you want about somebody in a defamation lawsuit, and if they do no contest, that doesn't mean that they're admitting guilt. It's just the same consequences as in a guilty verdict. It's not guilty anyway. But in his case in particular, you would never bring up all of the evidence into a civil lawsuit when you're facing the biggest RICO case in American history. Okay, you wouldn't bring that in a civil lawsuit. You would bring it into your criminal case to defend yourself, because people could corroborate stories, alibis, everything else.
No, wait, hold on. So you're saying that he by default was like, I'm gonna go bankrupt because my information is so good
hasn't
that I
paid
know
anything.
that I know that I'll win the criminal case. You
So,
don't think that
same thing
it
with
would
Fox.
just real quick. You don't think it would help him? Like, let me restate.
It's not
it
about
would,
helping
Hold on. It would absolutely help him if he had used this evidence to get him out of his civil case. Then that evidence would then be stronger during his criminal case because a judge already ruled that evidence alone allowed him to smear people, allowed him
No.
to publicly defame people because
No.
the evidence was there. The reason it's defamation is because there isn't evidence. So if he had evidence and it would have cleared him of his civil charges, that would be a benefit to Donald Trump, to Donald Trump's attorneys, and to
That's
Rudy
not true.
Giuliani in the Georgia case because a judge
That's not
would have
true.
already ruled that it
How's
was
it not true?
beneficial.
How's it not true?
That's not true. That's not true because in a civil lawsuit, let's say he brought forth a majority of his evidence or some of the evidence to prove
No
that this really
majority of
happened.
evidence. You have to
No.
submit all of your evidence. Does this guy not know how the court system works? Does he just like to throw stuff out there as if he is he used to saying things so loud and so just matter of factly that people believe him?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
When you start the sentence with, does he know how courts, whatever the end of that was, yes. Like, does he not know how courts? Yes. Whatever the rest of that was, the answer is yes.
You don't even have to like watch actual corporate shit. Just watch the movie My Cousin Vinny, and you get general
That's what I'm
understanding.
doing the rest of my day. That's what I should have watched yesterday. It's one of my favorite movies ever.
I've never seen it.
It's good. It's really good.
Maybe that's what I'll do the rest of my day.
Yeah, and it's funny too. So it's like it's uplifting, and it's but like submitting a majority of evidence. Like no, that's not a thing. You can't withhold evidence and then all of a sudden at the 10th hour be like, or is it 10th hour, 11th hour, whatever the hour is, like
11.
submitting it and being like, ha, gotcha.
Yeah, it doesn't make, it's exactly what, now it's kind of a dated, maybe you should go with like a Law and Order moment, but yeah, he thinks that that's how court works. Like he's seen court on TV so much that he thinks that's how it works. That you just look guilty till the end and then you get him with that gotcha moment. But that's not how any of this works. That's not how it would ever work. Believe it or not, My Cousin Vinny, there's a few problems with it. That may not have been how an actual court would operate. You know,
Yeah, it's not.
I hate to put it out there, but yeah, that's 100% what he thinks. Everything about Trump and his supporters is theatrical. There's been a big payoff that he's promised since 2015. We'll get so tired of winning. Everything will be so great, everyone will be so rich, and they believed that. And so because that hasn't happened yet, it's prophecy. It mixes with their Christian background, but they viewed him as a prophet. They thought, oh well, he's rich, so he apparently only rich people know the secret to getting rich, right? It's just a big secret. It's not that your dad was born rich or your dad gave you a bunch of money. Just rich people know. So they're like, we'll be rich, we'll be tired of winning, we'll be so strong. And since we're not there, like the prophecy hasn't been fulfilled yet, so we just have to keep trusting in the prophecy. It's absolutely exactly like a religion. It's the same reason Christians won't ever have a hard time believing in climate change, because they their whole belief is that God's in charge and he's running this shit. So, well, who can, like, if the
David
climate
just
is
said in
changing,
the comments, that's why we believe it. Because
Yeah,
it is,
if-
because it's an evangelical. Well, it's about
there we go.
if you won't suspend disbelief, you know what I mean? Like that, it's about belief and hope, right? The same reason things they believe Jesus is coming back, you know, or Jesus died on the cross for our sins and he's coming back to save us. It's the same. That's the same concept with Trump. That, right? What is it saying? 2 weeks, just 2 weeks. The evidence is coming. It's been 2 weeks for like 4 years.
I'm kind of hoping for the rapture soon, y'all. I'm really hoping.
Listen,
Life would get so much better.
I know what you do in your off time. If that rapture thing's real, you're in trouble. Listen, you are. Listen, I have no problem with what you're doing, but if they happen to be right, you're fucked. You're not. This isn't. It's not going to go well for you.
Well, if my
Well,
understanding,
we're staying behind.
yeah, we're staying
Yeah,
behind.
we're
I'm
staying
like, I'm okay
behind.
with
They're all leaving. We're
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
still
okay with
be
that.
here,
Well,
chilling. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
but then the reason that they're raptured, I believe, we didn't really do rapture in Mormonism, but then the earth, I believe the earth is scorched. I think you're left to be put on fire.
Have you stepped outside in the summer in Arizona?
no, we live in
Yeah.
Arizona. We
Yeah.
we know.
You're halfway
Listen.
there, babe.
That's true. Like, we're not far away. That's true. I'm just saying, we're all in trouble, but yeah, you're more in trouble than me, Derek. I think I can probably just go technically I'm still Mormon. I could probably pull that off and sneak in through the back door,
You
which
just have a
ironically is
planet.
why you're in trouble.
Lake of fire for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You haven't been excommunicated. You're probably still going to your planet, or are you going to outer darkness? Where are they sending you?
I would likely be in the Telestial Kingdom, which is where everybody goes. There's 3 kingdoms. Is it Celestial, Terrestrial, and Telestial? Telestial is basically where it's a good deal too. Actually, we would all be there. We would all be who we are now, except for we wouldn't get older. We couldn't have our own planet. We can't have kids.
No, that's
Not bad, right? It's just like
That's my plan.
I'm good.
our bodies are all restored to their most perfect form. We don't get sick. We live on Earth. No kids. Oh, and by the way, all the good Christians are gone. It's like win, 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 win.
That's what I imagine would
Yeah.
happen when the rapture happens. Is
Now
we'd all
we-
just still be here hanging out, and it'd
Now
be
they,
hot.
and they can come visit us. By the way, in Mormonism, they can visit you, but you can't visit them. You can't go up, but they can come down and see you.
I'd have a do not
Wait, so
disturb.
what's outer darkness then?
Outer darkness is a very specific sin. it's made for there was the war in heaven, so the people who followed Satan, they're there. And then Mormon doctrine, if you want to get really deep, there's only one way to actually go to outer darkness, and it's to have a perfect knowledge of the Savior and then deny it. And perfect knowledge would mean like a physical, like you met him, and then you said no.
Nope.
That's technically the only way to get there. So impossible.
So all introverts are done for, like having to meet this person and being like, ugh.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then you have to. So, anyways.
Okay. Yeah.
So you actually, looking back at it, Mormonism isn't bad on the afterlife. They have probably the most.
I was gonna say it doesn't
inclusive
sound bad.
afterlife.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a good
HVAC's
deal.
here. Thank you. Yeehaw.
It's a good
Jeff.
So not a bad idea for you guys to maybe just go get baptized, Mormon. Don't ever pay your dues or anything. Just get baptized, get your name on the rolls there, and then if things go south and it turns out they were right, you've kind of already got an in. And then some people will get baptized, or I guess they'll get sealed for you, so that in the afterlife, if you decide that you believe it now, that's another cool thing. In the afterlife, if you accept it, then you get to move up. So you can actually do this whole life like in the worst possible way, as long as in the afterlife you have like a crisis of conscience and you're like, oh yeah, I'm in now. It's really a great system that nobody understands, and if it's correct, it's not bad.
It's just the whole like Lamanites and Neophytes bit that kind of
Yeah, there's some bits in there that get a bit confusing. There are some bits in there that are troubling. But again, we would be with the Lamanites there, and I think maybe we would all have the curse of tan skin. Or, probably we're all just single. Our bodies are perfect, and there's no kids. Well, yeah, we're all going to be at the beach. No work,
Just living.
no kids. Yeah, we will look terrific.
This is great. This sounds like a good deal to me.
Who's this HVAC person that people keep referencing?
Oh, you want to meet Jeff?
He's the best debater on TikTok.
He is literally the best debater on TikTok.
Okay.
You don't want to.
I don't have time. I have a hard cutoff in 8 minutes, so I don't have time anyways. So I'm going to shut
Oh,
down.
that's too bad. Another time, though.
Yeah.
Another time.
All right, I'll wrap it up. Thanks, Derek. You tried with David. I don't know what happened. Maybe the attic collapsed. David, if you're
David's in the rubble.
If you're in trouble, send us a message. We'll send help to your attic. Good to see you, Derek.
Good to see you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Felice, why don't you sign it off today?
No, I don't
It's
know
yours.
how. Okay, well, another great. So, what's the plan for the rest of the week? You're driving to Utah, and we're going to take the rest of the week off, unless things change.
So maybe tomorrow. I've got to see what the weather looks like, and I got to drop
You look
off.
good with those hats on.
Thank you. Maybe tomorrow, but if we don't go live tomorrow, 30% chance of us tomorrow. If not, then I'm going to try and be on Nemo's Friday night.
Yeah,
And then
let's do
Saturday
that.
night. I'll plan on those.
Okay, sounds
And if
good.
look, if you see me go live any other day, it's because things went really, really poorly with my Mormon family and my.
That's what I was going to say,
MAGA
and then we'll
friends.
play it by ear. And if we just want to do a live and escape, because
It's
family-
possible.
It's bad. It's going to be a bad week for me.
Yeah.
I will be available for any escapist activities where we can pretend like we're orphans who don't have family.
And if it gets really bad, I'll send out a message to all my ex-Mormon friends there in Utah, and maybe we can meet up and have spiked coffee or something. We'll do something like that.
3-2 beer.
That's right.
Just water down your beer.
Okay.
Maybe you'll see Mitt. Yeah,
I
maybe you'll
hope
see
so.
Mitt.
Oh, that would be terrific. Nothing would warm my heart more than seeing the savior of the Republican Party, Mitt Demetrius Romney.
him.
Can't remember his middle name is Mitt. I think his name's like George Willard or something.
Is it?
Dad's name.
I did
What's
not
Mitt?
know that.
This might be his dad's name. Hold on.
You remember when there was the only scandal they could find about Mitt Romney was that he had put his dog on top of the car and drove
Yeah.
cross country, and that was the worst thing he'd ever done.
Yeah, his name's Willard.
Willard. No.
Willard Mitt Romney.
Willard. No,
Yeah.
I can't. I like Mitt better.
If you do need something to watch today, it's on, I believe, Vice. I found it on YouTube before. There's a Vice documentary called Mormons versus the Cartel or something
Oh,
like that.
I need to watch that. Oh,
It's-
is that in Mexico? I think I know this story.
Yeah, that's the Romney compound. So the Romneys came from Mitt Romney's dad was born in Mexico because he was from a polygamous family, and there's still a Romney compound down there. They're just regular Mormons now, and then there's another Mormon compound down the street. I forget their last name.
I told you how
they're friends,
I
but
played-
one of them is Mormon, and the other one just like is at war with the cartel.
I told you I played volleyball in college. Well, my freshman year, one of the other incoming freshmen was this like 6'3", blonde-haired, blue-eyed, gorgeous girl, and she spoke fluent Spanish. And I was like, "Why do you speak Spanish?" She was raised in a polygamous colony in Mexico.
Damn right, damn right.
So yeah, I love a Mormon documentary. I love Mormon history. It's fascinating.
Well, go watch that one on YouTube. It's Vice.
I watched The Insurrectionist Next Door last
What'd you
night.
think?
Oh my gosh. If you guys have not seen The Insurrectionist Next Door, you need to watch it. What's up with the guy who like went to jail for the girl who he's claiming is his sister, but isn't his sister, but she had like a hookup with the Proud? What in the... People going to jail left and right for love.
I don't know what happened there. There is
That's so
something.
scary.
Wait, did they decide it's not really his sister?
No, it's not his sister. He's in love with her.
It's definitely. But did they say that in there? Because he sure
No,
doesn't act. There's nothing about. It seems like she just convinced him to take the heat for everything. And he's like,
yes,
if
he's
I do
taking
this,
the fall for her.
If I do this, then she's going to be with me, and she clearly wants nothing
The
to do with him.
documentarian said that to him. Her story doesn't match up. She's lying, and he's like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm just going to go to jail anyways. Fortunately, in jail, he'll probably get a lot better at his parkour. So that's
It's on
terrific.
HBO Max, guys. Yeah.
Were you impressed by the parkour?
Oh my.
I love
And
that they
he's like,
left
it's
that
hard
in.
to do parkour in my ankle monitor.
Yeah, I
Poor
love
guy.
that they
Poor
left
guy.
that in.
Restricting.
They're like, what do you want us to know about you? He's like, well, I could tell you my life story, or I could show you some parkour. Want me to show you some cool moves? And they're like, yeah. And then he's like, yeah, leave that in the documentary.
I think we should do a
love that
viewing in
part.
the VC. That's a good idea.
Yeah, we could figure something out. Okay, that's
idea.
oh, Dave got banned for misinformation. Did he? Oh, probably. That's look. I'm going to just say this to David too. In all fairness, it's probably not the best idea to come into this live, and I don't want anybody to report people for misinformation or anything. But you're going to get reported in this live, David.
I just got my account back. So
don't-
this is my backup. Follow my backup. You also got me banned for a week. I've never been banned from anything on TikTok in my life until I started coming to your live.
Maybe you said some misinformation.
That's what I was banned for.
Well, you
That's-
must have
that's
said
what I
some
was accused
misinformation.
of.
How did you appeal it? What did you say?
No, I never heard back. Like,
What did you say on the appeal? You have to say specifically. I've learned this. If you say that they were
You say
wrong,
I did not violate the.
and then write in the comments exactly what you said, and you put quotes, it almost always works. If not, they'll just kind of like generically. But you probably caught a ban because it was your first time ever, and they're like, fuck it, we're not going to look at this. I think mine get reviewed quickly because they happen so often. So.
And Caleb. We'll talk next time, Caleb. I'm sure we'll see you soon. And happy holidays, everyone. Have a great week with your families.
Don't forget to send your videos to me. The throw it in their face
Yes.
until Thanksgiving. What are we're gonna what do we
Same
decide?
sex kissing in front of Republicans.
What do we get? We got to pick a hashtag real quick. Throwing it in their faces. Do we want to say that? Hashtag throwing it in their faces.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. Hashtag throwing it in their faces. Any of you who post a video of you same-sex kissing, or just really sort of, even if you're straight and you just have like colorful hair and both of you happen to look liberal, anytime you can make conservatives uncomfortable, send us those videos or post them on TikTok with the hashtag. What did we decide it was?
Someone said I need a face to kiss. Okay.
What did we decide it was again? The hashtag?
I don't throwing it in their face. I don't know. We're gonna have to work on that.
All right, I'm going to put out a TikTok later today. We'll settle on a hashtag. I'll put it out. Look out for that TikTok, and let's see if we can make the world a brighter place.
Someone
by
says
making
in their face. That's probably better than throwing it in their face.
Well, yeah, I wanted to make it like a conservative sounding hashtag. Give me an hour. I'll have a TikTok out.
Kiss giving. Oh, that's
Kiss giving.
okay.
All right, in your face. Actually, yeah, let's do hashtag in your face. That's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Hashtag in your face. Tag me in all your videos. We will repost them. Let's make people uncomfortable.
Throats.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a great
Bye,
day,
Felice.
guys. Happy holidays.
See ya.